Match day 5. This is the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors, and we're live from the Radisson Red in Glasgow with the Euro Nights in association with friends at Steen. Great crowd here tonight in the Radisson Red. We're really looking forward to it. Listen, it's been a tough run, hasn't it? Celtic went out of the tournament last night. Real Madrid next week, it beckons, but Celtic are out of Europe. And Rangers so far, no points after the first 4 games. Ajax at home next week. But the Rangers legend, Barry Ferguson, is with us. Barry, what are you feeling tonight? I know everyone's been nervous about it, but this is Napoli in the Champions League over there. How are you feeling?
Well, I should be looking forward to it, Paul, but listen, it's been definitely a hard watch in Europe. So, look, you're coming up against a top quality team in Napoli. For me, they're the best team I've seen, not just in this group, but throughout the Champions League. So, I think it's going to be a hard one for Rangers tonight. It'll be interesting to see what way he lines up. Does he go with a back 5 or does he stick to his normal 4-3-3 formation? But it's a Champions League. You should really be looking forward to it, but I'm afraid it might be a tough night for Rangers.
Mark Guidi, Mark, what do you think about Rangers? Barry saying, will he change the formation the way they line up tonight? No points so far, and no Rangers fan wants that to be the case after next week's final game.
Well, I think, Paul, that Giovanni will pick a team tonight with one eye on Saturday, because the bottom line is Saturday's more important than tonight. Giovanni can afford to sort of lose tonight's game. I think Europe's pretty much been written off, and I get that. But Saturday, if he had drop any more points on Saturday, I think that would cost him his job. I think the trigger would be pulled. So therefore, I think he'll have a team in mind tonight, but bearing in mind it's more important than Saturday. That's why I don't think Čolak will start tonight. He'll be kept for Saturday. And I think Morelos will be given the nod to lead the line. And I think it will be his usual kind of 4-3-3 formation.
Barry, what do you say to that? Morelos leading the line and Čolak would be on the bench because the game against Aberdeen is more important.
Yeah, it is more important because obviously with the 2 drop points in Saturday against Livingston. Look, every game you play with Rangers is important, but listen, they're not going to qualify for European football. So I think his eyes will definitely be on Saturday. Would I go 4-3-3 over Napoli? No, I wouldn't. I would not park the bus, but I would go in 5-4-1 and make it difficult and try and frustrate Napoli. Because I think if you open up against Napoli, the quality players they've got, they're going to hurt you, Paul.
Napoli could be winners of this tournament, couldn't they? The way they've started.
100%. They're the best team I've seen. Best team I've seen. Look, I knew they were a very good team, but until you actually watch them close up, and since Rangers were drawn in a group against them, I've watched plenty of Serie A stuff, obviously with my nephew been over there as well. They're a top quality outfit.
In here last night, ahead of the Celtic game, the Robbie Williams concert was coming on, so it was absolutely mobbed, Barry. Tonight, we've got another superstar with us from the world of sport. He has been a world champion, Paralympian champion. He's won at Wimbledon. You've won all over the world. Ambassador of the Kilt Walk, and we're absolutely delighted and honoured that Gordon Reid MBE is with us in the house. Gordon Reid is here.
Hey!
Thanks for having me along.
Gordon, I was lucky enough to meet you a couple of years ago at the Kilt Walk. You and Jim White, Tom Hunter, Judy Murray starting. You've been injured this season though, so it's been difficult for you. What happened earlier this season?
Yeah, it's been a long year for me. I've had a wrist injury longer than a year now, about 18 months. And I actually ruptured the tendon earlier in the summer, just after the French Open. So I've been pretty much on my holidays and recovering most of the year. But it's not all bad because I've been getting to more Rangers games than any other years of my life. So I've been enjoying that.
Have you and Billy Steen been at a few of these games? Because when you look at it, you know, you will look back and say, Liverpool, I'm not mentioning the result just the other week, but it's been some group that they're in. Have you enjoyed any of it?
Not much,
No.
not much to be honest. No, obviously it's great for us to be back in the Champions League. I mean, it's where the club belongs, and it's been a long time coming. But obviously we've shown a couple of patches where we've competed quite well. You know, the start of the Napoli game before the sending off, the first half, I think, up until Goldson went off injured against Liverpool at home. But yeah, it's going to be a big challenge for us tonight. So
you've been a Rangers fan for years. You'd have watched Barry on many occasions.
Aye, definitely. Yeah, he was sort of my era when I was younger, growing up, and he was a captain. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be sitting next to him tonight.
And what are you thinking for tonight? Mark was saying, thinking that, I mean, isn't it incredible that the league is the most important thing, and you're not writing off tonight, but you're looking to the weekend and the match with Aberdeen. Would you start with Morelos tonight and Čolak the top scorer on the bench?
Yeah, I think I actually agree with what Mark was saying, because definitely what you're saying about the match on Saturday is probably more important, but it's definitely more important for Gio, because the chances of him getting sacked after a Champions League game is probably not that high unless it's 7-1 again. But as you say, if he drops points at the weekend, then he's in a lot of trouble, I think.
Barry, do you think that kind of result, a 7?
I'm not even what to think like that.
Refusing
I've
to
been honest
answer
with
the
you.
question, yeah.
I'm refusing to answer that, sorry.
No, I know. It's,
Look, it's going to be difficult. Listen, you're coming up against a top quality team with top quality players. It is going to be a hard night. I just think you've got to go over with a game plan to try and sit in and maybe hit them on the counter attack, maybe get a set piece, get something from that. But again, for me, all focus goes on the last 4 league games. They can't go any further behind Celtic. You've got to have a mindset thinking Celtic are going to win the remaining 4, so you've got to go in with these last 4 games making sure you get 12 points. That's what they've got to do.
what did you think of Celtic last night, Barry? You saw the
I
game
thought
1-1.
I thought they competed. I thought they just lacked that bit of quality in the final third. But that's what happens when you play in the Champions League. You come up against good teams with good players. They created chances again. They're just probably probably just no ruthless enough. But I think a 1 each draw was probably the right result.
Can you tell us what it was like playing in Champions League? And we talk about, the step up from playing in Scotland and playing there. How many games roughly would it take you to get that? Because you look at Shakhtar last night, not the best team in the tournament, but they looked faster than Celtic.
When you play in the Champions League, they think quicker, they move quicker, they're physically stronger. And we were talking off air about it. It took me probably 10, 15 Champions League games to get really up to speed in terms of what I was coming up against, because listen, you're coming up against probably the best players in Europe each time, whoever you're drawn against. So it was a learning curve, but you've got to learn quickly, Paul. You're in the Champions League, as I said, and as a football player, that's where you want to play. You want to play against the best teams and the best players, but there was a major difference, there's no doubt about that.
Was that the worst miss last night? Did everyone see it here at the Radisson Reds? Yeah, Sikan. Mark, you saw a great goal, good goal from Giakoumakis, and then a great goal from Mudryk.
Yeah, Mudryk was really special. A hell of a strike from 20 yards. And then the miss from Sikan. That's the worst I've ever seen.
Worse than Van Vossen?
Yeah, Van Vossen,
do you not think
Ronnie
he's
Rosenthal,
trying to take
whatever.
a touch there?
He's been 2 minds, Barry, and
he's
it's been a
trying to
heavy
take
touch to slot it in. I mean, it was maybe 3 inches behind him, but still, he'd all the time in the world. Heart's taken out the equation. Take a touch and put it in, or just let it come across a wee bit more. But it was a hell of a miss, and Kyogo's missed what you would regard as a sitter as well, 1-on-1 with the goalie. You've got to stick them away, but it's different. Just Paul and the Radisson Red, the mentality between the Celtic supporters and the Rangers supporters. As a Celtic, I've got 2 points out of possible 15, 2 draws out of 5 games. They're bottom of the section. They're out of Europe with a game to go. 7 defeats in a row in the Champions League at home. But the Celtic supporters have accepted it because they think their team's had a go and they've created whatever it is, 20, 30, 40, 50 chances. Whereas the Rangers supporters, there's no points on the board and they've not found the performances in the group games acceptable. Obviously, the 7-1 defeat to Liverpool. They played well in the first half against Napoli until Sands gets sent off. Played well in the first half against Liverpool at Ibrox, and then the roof fell in the second half. But they need to show more. But I still have sympathy for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He got the team into the Champions League. He got them that 30 or 40 million quid, which is a lifesaver financially for the club. He's now paying the penalty because he got them in and they didn't strengthen the squad. On the back of it, they didn't strengthen the squad in the back of that. And now he is paying the price for coming up against that quality. Had he not made it into the Champions League and win the Europa League, he wouldn't be going through what he's going through. His job wouldn't be on the line. So he's paid the price for being successful. Steven Gerrard never got him into the Champions League. Failed against a 10-man Malmo team. And he never came under that kind of scrutiny that Giovanni has. So I get it, it's the reality of the situation, but I do have a lot of sympathy for Van Bronckhorst.
Gordon Reid, what do you feel about that? That's a good point about Gio. He's been dealing at the Champions League, and he didn't get the money did you think that he would be able to spend?
Well, I didn't think we would go out spending, flashing the cash right, left and centre, because I think we'd spent a lot of money that we needed to make up in the previous years, but I did think we would maybe pull out one sort of marquee signing when we did get that qualification, because you can't expect it that they planned not to be in the Champions League, and maybe that would be a sort of bonus. But yeah, I think it's right what you're saying. He is paying the price, but I think it's coupled along with the domestic performances and the approaches and the lack of entertaining and attacking football in domestic games, coupled with the results in Europe together, is what's got them under pressure, not just the European games.
Because you've still to see the best of the Tillmans, Matondos. Most of the new players, Barry, haven't yet hit the heights.
Yeah, the recruitment's not been spot on. Let's be honest. Sholak scored goals, 13 goals. He's put in the back of the net. Lawrence, up until he got injured, there was signs that he was a very good player. I'd watched him before in Derby, and he was a captain there. He's certainly going to be a good player for Rangers. Ben Davies now starting to get a run of games. He's shown his quality, but the rest are still question marks over that. And what surprised me, knowing Gio, he knows the Dutch league inside out. I'm surprised there's been no Dutch players brought in. So that's something that they'll need to look at, the recruitment. There has been money spent, but what Gordon's just mentioned there, I was surprised that they never brought in one or two more just before the window closed.
Some of the players, the old guard that were there before, are the ones that have helped to dig Rangers out at times. Let's hear from Scott Arfield, but he says, hey, he knows it's not been good enough this season.
I think performances and results kind of speak for themselves. I think we've not been good enough, and that is the players. Ultimately, it's the players that go over the line and perform, and the performances haven't been good enough so far. And if you feel as if somebody's sort of no feeling the pressure or no feeling that they're pulling the weight, then that's honest conversations that we've had, and we'll continue to do so to get back to what we're good at.
Let's get a squad update then. We'll have the team in about half an hour's time. This is Giovanni speaking about any injuries for tonight.
Glenn didn't make it. You know, he's working hard to be ready, but this game comes too early, so hopefully he will be ready for the weekend. We have Robbie fit. You know, he went off the game in the weekend, but he's fit to travel. He trained also today, so that's good news. You know, you have to look at the team, which team is best for tomorrow. Of course, we're in a very demanding schedule, and we have to rotate the squad because we need everyone fresh. So that's a balance you need to find, but you know, probably tomorrow we'll see some changes. Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe one that he might consider is leaving Barisic out. I think he got a knock at the weekends. I wouldn't be surprised if Yilmaz plays at left back today and again with the one eye on Saturday, keeping Barisic absolutely ready. And Yilmaz is a player that all the Rangers fans want to see. They paid £5 million.
What did everyone think of him last week when he played? Hands up if you think he got 6 or 7 out of 10. Would that be fair? Because he was one of the successes, Barry.
Yeah, at least he showed a bit of positivity. He wanted to break forward. He wanted to try and impress. You could clearly see that. Still not seen enough of him, but at least he showed something within the game that I watched. And time will tell. It's a lot of money, as Mark just mentioned there. I think it was £5.5 million. It is a lot of money in Scottish terms. But that game that I watched, he clearly showed me that he's wanting to try and impress.
Mark, you're going through some of the team there. What I'm thinking, and everyone will be, it's a year ago since Walter died, Walter Smith. And it's hard to believe that's a year, isn't it? And the news from the club today is there's going to be a statue erected at Ibrox in tribute to Walter. Gordon Reid, he was some manager, wasn't he? Legendary football manager, Walter Smith.
Yeah, absolute legend. You know, kind of epitomised everything to do with the club. I mean, as soon as you hear Rangers, you think Walter Smith, and you know, he was the manager when I was growing up, and obviously had a lot of success with the club. So somebody that's been somebody I've looked up to for a long time, and luckily, you know, I'd managed to sit next to him at a few games at Ibrox over the last sort of couple of years, and watch some games and pick his brains now and again about how the games are going. So, you know, I never thought I'd be in that position. So, yeah, it's definitely, you know, he more than deserves that statue, and I think it's a great decision by the club. And
Barry, he was one of the biggest mentors in your life.
Yeah, he was a massive part of my career. Growing up as a young man, going in full time at 15, he was part of the reason why I came out of school early, because I never went to school. But he was. I learnt so much off, especially Walter and Archie Knox. They were brilliant to play under. I played under him 3 different occasions. He gave him a debut at Rangers, then obviously when he became the Scotland manager, then come back to Rangers the second time. Not a proper manager. He knew how to get the best out of players. Tough, really tough on you at times, but that's what you want as a footballer.
Tell everyone here, he put you through the mill as a young lad, didn't he? When you would make the toast in the morning.
No much Walter. It was probably
Was it?
Archie Knox that I
Okay.
had nightmares about. Yeah.
Are you good at making the toast now? Because they would send them back. The great Barry Ferguson would be told, "No, it's not right, is it?"
Yeah, but that was part of see if I could handle a bit of pressure. That was it. That's exactly the reason why they done it. Don't get me wrong. There was times I got in that underground and then they trained back to Belsill and I was walking home. There's sometimes I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. But it was a making of me. It was proper character building, which I think's probably missing in modern day football.
Yeah. You could have been working for Steen Electrical. You could have
Yeah, I
been.
could have been.
That's really good jobs. I've seen some of the cars here in the car park, Billy. Maybe speak to you later. Mark, I can't help but think you would be saying tonight, think of Walter, they would be saying to the dressing room, look, well, what do you think he would be saying to these players who've underperformed? And it's the lack of an urgency, understanding who they're playing for.
Well, one thing that you would know about Walter Smith is a game like tonight, when you're going to be up against it, you're going to be backs to the wall, a typical European away game. Walter was brilliant at it. 9 times out of 10, he would find a way to get a result. You think of the great run that Barry was involved in to Manchester in 2008, 0-0 against Barcelona, even for Scotland, beating France at Hampden, all the different things. So he knew how to do that. He was a master at being defensive, and that's not a criticism of him, but I think that's when Walter excelled, when you weren't expected to get anything. And what he achieved as a football person, as a manager of Rangers, is that even at Everton, he was brilliant at Everton, Paul, is there for all to see. It's in black and white, it's in the history books, can never be taken away. But we're fortunate enough to know him and privileged to know him as a person as well. Barry was right in the inner sanctum with him. But first and foremost, apart from his achievements in football, he was a proper gentleman, an absolute first-class human being. His wife Ethel, his 2 boys, Neil and Stevie, a lovely family. And you miss him. You miss a guy we were lucky enough to socialise with him, lunch with him. And he was great. He was just great company and a great person and had time for everybody.
One thing, you never wanted to go on the wrong side of him.
Really?
Oh, don't wait. And that happened probably 3 or 4
Yeah.
occasions in my career. And you knew you were in trouble. Yep. I can't use it on radio, the language I was going to use there. But one thing about Walter as a player, you knew your role and your responsibility in the team, inside out. There was no excuses. The way he set you up before big European games, like Mark just mentioned, the Barcelona. I mean, you're talking Messi, Henry, Ronaldinho, Xavi, Iniesta, Puyol. And he had us believing that we could get something out of that. Look, if you put the 2 teams together, they were miles in front of us, but we had an inner confidence and an inner belief that we could go out there and get something out of the game. And it was all about attitude and getting in their faces and making them dislike football in a certain way. And maybe it wasn't great to watch at times, but you know what? We knew how to get results.
And that's what they need to do tonight.
Yeah, they need
Napoli.
to do that
Yeah.
every single game.
Yeah. Gordon, we're going to a break. What's your prediction tonight? Napoli against Rangers in the Maradona Stadium. What do you reckon? He's smiling. The girls are loving it. And some of the guys.
Hopefully they're inspired by the youth team earlier on that got the 3-2 win.
Yeah.
But I think if we get anything out tonight, it'll be a bonus. But I think first and foremost we need to be competitive. We need to turn up and make it difficult for them, and hopefully show some signs and sort of flashes of hope for the weekend and the rest of the season.
We're back. We'll give you the team shortly. We're back after the break.
At just after 25 past 6, we'll start off with some good news on the M74 northbound heading into the city. Traffic is now easing there and the congestion is away. However, further south, you've still got delays between Junction 4 at Maryville and Junction 5. The Wraith interchange, M77, very heavy and slow moving, heading from the city towards Junction 1 at Dumbreck. And on the M8 itself, you're queuing eastbound between Junction 22, which is the M77 interchange, and Junction 18 at Charing Cross. And also queuing both directions on the M8 around Junction 25, Cardonald and the Clyde Tunnel. That is you up to date on Go.
This is the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors, and we're live from the Radisson Red in Glasgow with our special Euro nights in association with our friends at Steen. We're looking forward to Napoli against Rangers. We were looking back at Celtic last night, 1-1 against Shakhtar. We saw, well, one of the biggest misses ever in football, and also Celtic scoring through Giakoumakis, but Mudryk. There's so many great players and a few brilliant ones on view tonight as well for Napoli, although we're hearing, and we will know in about 20 minutes what their lineup is. They are through, so they may have dropped some of their star players, but Barry Ferguson, there's always somebody else coming through, isn't there, at the likes of Napoli?
Yeah, listen, that's why they've got squads of 25 players, Paul. They're all quality players, but listen, hopefully he drops the 11 that played at Ibrox, and then maybe we'll win with a chance, but it's going to be a tough ask for Rangers. Look, I want to see, and I'm sure the Rangers fans want to see, is try and get a bit of pride back, at least certainly in the Champions League. It's going to be a tough ask tonight. I'm looking more towards next Tuesday against Ajax, because what we need to do is we need to get at least a point or 3 on the board before obviously the Champions League group stages finish. Are
you getting a bit fed up hearing some of the pundits down south giving Rangers and Celtic a bit of a slagging, aren't they?
I seen, is it Jason Cundy?
Something like that.
Yeah.
He was a player. Yeah.
No, and another. Do you know what? I always stick up for Scottish football. These guys have never come up here and played. I tell you, it's a hard place to play. Look, maybe the football's not the best, but you know what? You need to give 100% up here, and I don't like when the English have a go at our game, and it was like that when I went down there and played. They kind of looked down on it a wee bit. But listen, I'll always stick behind the Scottish game.
Billy Steen is with us. Billy, thanks for being with us. You were actually at the Liverpool game down there at Anfield.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to be at the top table, though, is it? I'm trying to wring something out of the good times in a Champions League journey.
Well, before we've played any of the matches, it was good to be at the big table, but it's been a tough watch. It really has. I mean, before we went into the Champions League, you think that's where Rangers and Celtic both deserve to play, but the difference in quality is astounding. Even from the Europa League last season, when you went to watch the matches, just the speed they move the ball at, the pace they move the ball at, it's a different level altogether. And unfortunately, we're just not at that level at the moment.
But what's happened to your team, the lack of intensity at home in the domestic market? Because, OK, you've lost Aribo, you've Patterson, who didn't play that much, and obviously Calvin Bassey, but there's still the nucleus of a team that should be first or second in the top table.
Do you know, I was actually discussing this with my son. When you watch Rangers, sometimes they look so slow and lethargic.
Yeah.
It's basically passing a horseshoe shape round the back. And to do that, you really need to try and entice the players out and play through the midfield. But the problem is when we've not got the players that's coming looking from midfield to take the ball. So it just continues to be passed from side to side, and then it ends up a lump up the channel and stuff. And that you can't do that against teams like this. Even against Livingston, they ran out of ideas. It was as if they decided, we don't know how to play through this team, so we'll play it wide and we'll just swing it into the box and hope for the best to get a second ball, but they just couldn't win any second balls. So I think they're really lacking in ideas and really low in confidence at the moment. But it's up to the manager and the players to change that. Only they can do that, but it's a tough watch at the moment.
Have you got faith in the manager?
I think it's a bit of a catch-22. I think the manager's been badly let down by the recruitment. I don't know how many players that's been brought in was identified by Van Bronckhorst. I think that Ross Wilson's got to take some sort of element of responsibility there. But when you're still finishing matches with the same team that Gerrard built 4 years ago, there's something not right there. Yeah. And when Barry played and stuff, when Rangers were signing players, they were bringing players in that was going to be starters, that was going to be coming into the first 11, and it would make the people that's there raise their performance and raise their game. I can't see any player that they've brought in that's any better than what was there already. So,
Barry, you always say that with new players.
It's a brilliant point Billy makes there. When obviously the teams that I played, when we signed players and they walked through that dressing room door, you thought to yourself...
Give us an example.
No, just I mean, back in the late 90s when the Advocate first came in, and you're looking at guys like Van Bronckhorst, the current manager, Claudio Arena, Tugai, and already there was myself was there, George Alberts was there. So you're looking at real competition for places, and you're thinking to yourself, I need to be on it every single day here, and you have to train the way you play. If you don't train well, you're out the team. You don't perform on a Saturday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday in the Champions League, you're out the team. And that's the way that kept you on your toes. I liked that. That's when you knew you were on the pitch. You turned to the bench and you looked and you thought to yourself, look at some of the players that are on this bench. And then even at that, guys in the stand who could easily get into the starting 11. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see in terms of recruitment of Rangers. There's questions getting asked. I get asked it every single day, whether I'm at the shops or whatever. Who's bringing these players in? Is it Gio? Is it Ross Wilson? We don't know. There needs to be a bit of clarification on that. But for me, it's got to be the manager that brings the players in. He's a guy who coaches them and sees them every single day.
Mark, it's a theme now, isn't it? People, the Rangers fans are saying they like him, they remember him as a player. He's taken you into the Champions League. But, Barry said earlier on as well, the next two games are absolutely crucial for him.
Yeah, I mean, particularly Saturday. It's just very flat. I think you can identify it, Paul, and trace it back to that 4-day period. 4-0 at Celtic Park, 4-0 in Amsterdam. Rangers have never recovered from that. Yeah. I think that's the bottom line, and that ultimately is setting them off as to where they find themselves now. It's been coming. It's been a downward trajectory, and it sort of peaked on Saturday. The last-minute goal, credit to Rangers for keeping going. But Livingston's down to 10 men, and I think it's a deflection from Lundstrom that gets the ball into the net. But it's still a point. But it's not good enough. And I don't know what happens tonight, but for me it's all about Saturday. And compared to last season, they've lost two of their best players. Lundstrom's not playing as well as he was last season. Morelos has been posted missing for God knows how long. Cholak's come in and played well, but the players that are actually there need to do better. Tavernier is a brilliant captain. He's been brilliant, and he's brilliant when things are going well. But I want to see more leadership from him, Paul, and this is where he needs to stand up and be a captain. Like the man sitting next to us was, like an Amaruso was, like all these guys have been in the past. He needs to stand up when the chips are down and get a grip of that team and help to drive them on, because he is the manager on the pitch. He's got to be the leader, and I want to see more from Tavernier when the chips are down.
Billy?
Yeah, just a wee bit about the recruitment there.
Yeah.
I'm just, obviously, Van Bronckhorst has got to identify the positions that he wants to strengthen. When you go out and spend £5 million on a left back, that tells me that he's identified the left back as a problematic position. But the boy that they've brought in can't even get a sniff at a start. He's had 2 starts and 1 substitution appearances, I believe. So does that tell you that that's Van Bronckhorst that's brought that player in? I don't think so.
It didn't sound like it, didn't he? Said it's $5 million, wasn't it? Almost.
Yeah,
and he says it's a 5-year project. But look out for him tonight, because you reckon he could be in. But that is the problem, isn't it? The players brought in are not playing.
Look, Paul, Gio will know it falls on his shoulders, but also the players have got to take a bit of responsibility. When you cross that white line, it's got to come in within here. You've got to do it yourself. In terms of, I was speaking to Mark before we come on, and I'm watching the game on Saturday, and it was a hard watch, no doubt about it. I was worried half-time, slightly better possession, but I'm wanting somebody to go and make a tackle, somebody to go and do something in the game to get the crowd fired up. I don't see that happening, and I need somebody to go and take the game by the scruff of the neck, whether that's doing something with the ball or doing something without the ball. They need to get a reaction.
But that's been an issue how many times over the past 18 months has their heart been called into question? Celtic Park in February, then again 6 months ago, Ajax away. We spoke about leaders on the park. There doesn't seem to be that person that wants to come forward and take the game by the scruff of the neck. Even Tavernier, it's as if they've tied his hands behind his back, because his strength was going forward and getting the ball into the box. He's not getting us forward as much anymore, so is that something tactical because they play with 2 wingers wide? I don't know
if he's. I'm not sure, Barry, if he's still full. I would cut him a bit of slack. I just wonder if he's trying to play through the pain barrier, and it's actually doing more harm than good. I don't know if he just needs a 2-3 week rest.
Again, that's something that quite a few people have asked me. Then they need to be honest about that. They need to say that he's. Just a minute, Paul. They need to tell us that if he is struggling with an injury, he's playing through the pain barrier. Then I think people will understand that. But listen, for me. He's still a top right back. He's still, for me, come on leaps and bounds as being a leader. he just needs to obviously do a bit more.
We've got the teams just in. Here's the Rangers lineup. McGregor, Tavernier, Yilmaz. So we hinted at it. Yilmaz is in. Lundstrom, Kent. This is the way it's come out. Sands, Morelos. We mentioned that too. Wright, Davies, Ben Davies, King and Tillman. So Mark, that lineup is.
Yeah, I've shaped it up, Paul. It's Alan McGregor in goals. Looks like a 4-2-3-1. James Tavernier, Leon King, Davis and Yilmaz at the back. Holding two, Lundstrom and Sands. And then Wright, Tillman and Kent in behind Morelos.
Barry, first reaction to the Rangers lineup?
I think it will be a back three.
Yeah.
I think he'll go a 5. I think Sands will play with Ben Davis and Leon King. So I've just got the James Layton texting me through, so I'll just go through the team. Give me a minute.
You've
and
got it as
I'll
well.
write the team down.
I'll tell you
Why
what-
am I always last to get the text?
Yep, we got it at the same time. Can I tell you that they have dropped a couple of players, including Kvaratskhelia, who is, they're calling him over there, Caradonna, because he's so good. Their lineup is, they are.
Yeah.
Merritt, Kim, Mario Rui, Elmaz, Simeone, Politano, Di Lorenzo, the captain, Ostergaard, Lobotka, Rapsadori, who's also phenomenal, and Ndombele on loan, of course, from Tottenham. Mark, strong side, but not as strong as it could have been, because when you look at the bench there, you've got quite a few of their top players.
But I don't take a lot of notice in terms of if you've made 3 or 4 changes, Paul, because they'll have 20 right good outfield players. And they always think, see if you're a guy in the periphery and you're brought in, you want to go and make an impression. You want to go and actually state your claim to play at the weekend in the league game. So, yeah, on paper, it's probably not as strong as what he could have, but that's still a right good team. And if anything, they could damage you even more because there might be an extra wee bit of hunger in that starting 11.
On the bench for Rangers, the two keepers, McCrory and McLaughlin, Cholak, Stephen Davis, Matondo, Sakala, Barisic, Arfield, Devine, Lowry and Allen. So that's good news on Lowry, back involved. Billy, what do you think of the Rangers lineup?
I think they would probably be better playing McCrory, McLaughlin and
get them all in. Yeah,
get the 3 goalkeepers in tonight. But no, I take Mark's point. That's a good point. The players that's come in from Napoli probably think they're just as good as, if no better, than the players that they're replacing. So it's an opportunity for them to come and show how good they are. They'll fancy this, and they'll look at Rangers and fancy a chance of getting a right good few goals, but just gone with the previous performances. But again, that's up to Rangers to try and stay compact and tight for the first 15-20 minutes and then see what they can take for there. But the first 15-20 minutes is going to be critical, I think, for Rangers.
Barry, what are you thinking about the Rangers lineup?
Yeah, I can't see how we can go with a 5, because obviously Wright, Tillman and Kent are in the team. It looks to me if he's going his natural 4-3-3, which is a concern. Listen, one thing Rangers have got to be tonight is discipline. They need to be solid and work as a unit, and people no running out of position. Because if you run out of position when you play, certainly away from home in Europe, what good players do is hurt you, and that's what Napoli could do. So it'll be interesting to see. But looking at the starting lineup, it looks his natural 4-3-3 formation.
It's a huge night. I'm just thinking of players like Scott Wright. This is a huge step up for him, Barry, isn't it?
Yeah, but in the wide areas, he's probably went with Wright and Kent because they've got a bit of legs.
Yep.
They can get back and help their full back out. But listen, you mentioned Scott Wright. There's a number of players need to start impressing and start doing a bit more.
That brings us to Ryan Kent.
To be fair, last season he used Wright quite a bit as well, because he knows the defensive part of the game, so he can tuck in there and track back. The same with Kent. Kent's done that ever since he's been at Rangers, where he goes forward, but he does know how to track back as well. So that's probably why he's used Wright and Kent wide, because they do know how to cover their midfield when they've not got the ball. It's all about playing without the ball as well, and try to make yourself as difficult to play through as possible. But my biggest issue is the confidence with the team. Is if Napoli do get an early goal, how do they react to that? I hope it's just no a cave-in number again. But when they played at Anfield, it was 2 set pieces they were caught out by. So in open play, they dealt with it relatively okay. But again, it's just you hope this night that Napoli maybe take their eye off the ball, and maybe they're worried about Serie A as well, and they maybe underestimate Rangers. But I think that's about our best chance to try and get something. Is Rangers need to be bang on it, and Napoli need to be a wee bit off it.
Napoli on 12 points at the top after the 4 games. Liverpool on 9. Ajax on 3. Rangers no points so far. Billy, looking to next week. We'll speak to you later in the podcast. But are you expecting Rangers to win against Ajax. You'll be at the match.
Again, I'm never the optimist, so
You're not?
going into Liverpool at Ibrox, I thought if we could just sneak a wee point here. I did fancy Liverpool to go to Amsterdam tonight and win, so again, the Ibrox atmosphere, Ajax aren't a Liverpool or a Napoli, so they could maybe get caught in their heels a wee bit with another good Rangers performance, but it's the type of group that it could go either way. Ajax could come to Ibrox and take 2 or 3, but I do fancy that to be their best opportunity to get some sort of points on the board next week, yeah.
What's your scoreline tonight? I know what your heart will say.
I don't know. I don't want to get taken out of here in a white jacket by saying that Rangers are going to win.
You'll not be the only one.
I know. I don't know. My heart tells me that hopefully we'll get a point, but I think you've got to be realistic and just say, as I say, the first 15-20 minutes is going to be critical for Rangers tonight.
Maybe a point.
Maybe a point, maybe 3 points, but
He's trying to get out,
Yeah.
I know.
just let him go.
All right, we'll take a break. Barry has spoken. We're back in a moment.
At 6:44, we're going to start off on the M77. Traffic is very heavy there, southbound leaving the city. And now we're hearing that's because of debris on the road. That's between Junction 1, Dumbreck, and Junction 2, Barhead Road. Traffic there is tailing all the way back to the junction with the M8. On the M8 itself, you get queuing traffic between Junction 22 and Junction 18, which is Charing Cross. That's in the roadworks area. Better news, though, for the M8. Traffic has eased now following the earlier congestion around Junction 25, which is Cardonald and the Clyde Tunnel. And you're still fairly slow southbound on the M74 between Junction 4, Maryville, and Junction 5, the Wraith interchange, heading through the roadworks. That is you up to date on Go.
Thanks, Alan, for the traffic and travel at Go Radio HQ. This is the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors. Paul Cooney here with Barry Ferguson and Mark Guidi for a Euro night in association with Steen at the Radisson Red. Well, we've just given you the Rangers lineup. We're just discussing about how they might line up. Barry,
I'm listening to you. I'm just interested in eating their pizzas.
The pizzas are in, and there is Paul Lambert, who joined us last night. Yep, Paul, good to see you again. Yeah, we saw you in the telly. We saw you the close-up last night. 1-1 with Celtic. Tonight, Rangers in Napoli. You're just in and out, aren't you? But it was great to hear you on last night.
No, listen, it was a difficult game. Shakhtar are a good side, and the number 10, Dero Deer, what a player he is.
What a
player.
goal!
Not as good as Barry, right enough.
No, indeed. But what a goal! So will we reenact some of the games between you two?
I think we should reenact half-time the Faroe Islands v Scotland.
Right. Okay.
Censored that one. Yeah, censored that. I just heard he's on the radio coming in there. I thought I'd just come in.
Great, Paul. Thanks for joining us last night.
No worries.
And
See you later,
tonight,
all right.
Napoli against Rangers coming up. And there's young Dino, who's just been in World Championships. He's been at the cerebral palsy. He went all the way to the final. And there's Gordon Reid, MBE, over there. Of course, one of our great Paralympians over there. And the wheelchair champion. He's there, just watching in case Paul kicks you as he comes. Barry might as well, just as... Yeah. He's fit as a fiddle. I was asking about he's running every single day.
I've seen
Paul
him.
Lambert.
I've seen him do a few Sky interviews, and I see the Peloton bike in the background. So he must be.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. Paul's just going by to say hello. Dino, some players around tonight, aren't there? Some great sportsmen, and with you. So if you joined us here a couple of months ago, it was the first night, wasn't it, that you joined us, and you were off to Sardinia to the Cerebral Palsy World Championships, and you went to the final.
Yeah, we got all the way to the final, so we got Colombia in the final, and half time I was on the bench, got chopped in the final, started all 3 group stages games and the semi-final. Got into the final, I was picking up a wee injury. So looking back, I shouldn't have told the physio I was picking up an injury, because I would like to start, so I got chopped. Half time we were getting beat 1-0. So I went on at half time, and then 6 minutes into half time, it was 3-0 Colombia. Managed to pull back 2, and unfortunately had a chance later at the end, 3 kick, hold the ball, and the whistle went, heartbreak.
Well, we're Scottish, so that's... But
It's a brilliant Scottish thing. I get chopped.
I know, get chopped, isn't it? What an experience for you, though.
It was
Sardinia.
Great experience.
Wow. Yeah.
And I qualified to the Euros. We get into the final, which is back in Sardinia next year.
Oh, brilliant.
Right, can we bring it back to Rangers tonight? Now that we've done a tour of the world, it is great.
Keep talking about the Sardinia.
Barry,
keep talking about that.
Barry's a bit nervous tonight, he is. How do you feel about this game with Napoli?
I just look at Napoli, look at the form in the league. They're unbeaten. They're just scoring goals for fun. I think I'd went 4-5-1 tonight. When Walter Smith, we sit in just then counter attack, get our chances then. But looking at that team, I don't know what he sees it. Is he trying to get 3 points and set up a big occasion next week?
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know.
The thing that strikes me about the starting 11 is the lack of flexibility defensively. Now, in the forward areas, it could be the 3, it could be a 3-1, or it could be a 4-4-1-1. Where Kent and Wright really drop deep, and Thielman gets really close to Morelos. But one of the things that Giovanni's been good at in Europe, but was successful last season, was flipping quickly from a 4 to a 3, or a 5, whatever you want to call it. That starting 11 doesn't give you that flexibility. So if it's not going well, you're looking at him having to make a number of changes at half time.
Barry?
Yeah, if he goes his 4-3-3, Paul, I did say it looks too open to me. You've got to respect the opponent you're up against, and you're up against, for me, the best team in the Champions League so far in terms of performances. So it'll be interesting to see whether what Mark just mentioned, is it 2 banks of 4, really deep, Tillman trying to go up and support Morelos with Wright and Kent drop them in and helping the fullbacks out. So it'll be interesting to see. But looking at the team, it looks to me if he's going his normal way that he would normally go, and what's his favoured formation. So we'll see what happens when the kick-off happens.
It's brave, and I hope it works for him, obviously. But for me, Paul, there's an element of naivety in there, given the venue, given the level of opposition. That said, they need to get something tonight. Like we were saying last night, you wanted Celtic to win the game, to have something to play for in Madrid. Next week they get nothing and they're out. Tonight Rangers need to get a point, providing Ajax don't win. If Ajax win, then it's game over. Yeah. But Rangers need to get at least a point. And if that's the mindset, that's not the starting 11 I'll go with. But listen, he's clearly got a plan. he excelled. Okay, it's not been great this season in the Champions League, but he has excelled at certain times, and maybe tonight's just going to be the one where he's going to shock everybody.
Well, let's hear what Gio had to say before they flew out from Glasgow yesterday. He said, look, he knows we need something positive.
You know, if you don't have the results, especially in Champions League, which is, of course, really hard because of the opposition, I think the best thing is to get a good result. And that's also for us tomorrow what we want to achieve in a difficult stadium against a really good team. To get confidence, you know, you have to have a good performance and of course, something positive out of the game.
And how does he see Napoli? What does he think about the opposition?
It's a team who are, I think, won the last 11 games against a really tough opposition as well in Champions League, but also in Serie A. So it's, it's for us. It's we know the opposition, we know they have quality, but it's also a chance for us to have a good performance against a really good team, like we did at home.
And the top teams, Barry, you saw PSG, the goals they were scoring. You know, they were on fire last night, and the big three scored there. I mean, they look at each other, don't they, the top teams, and they were almost showing off last night.
Yeah, and that's certainly when you go away from home, Paul, I use the word, and that was drummed into us, you've got to be disciplined. You've got to know your role and your responsibility, you've got to be solid and compact, and if one player doesn't do their job right, that could ultimately kill you. So they need to be on it, need to be aware, because let's be honest, they are coming up against a team who can hurt you all over the pitch. It's not just their striker, it's not just the three behind the striker. Their full-backs are dangerous. They've got danger throughout the team. So I just hope Rangers are set up, and what you need to do is it's the old cliche, but the first 15-20 minutes is always so important in a game, and especially away from home in the Champions League.
But you're preaching caution, because it looks as though
and
they're going for it.
People might say, you've got to try and be positive, but listen, you've also got to be respectful of what you're up against. I played in enough games away from home in the Champions League to realise that sometimes you've just got to go there and do a job and try and frustrate a team. And that's what Rangers need to do. And the longer as the game goes on, they become more frustrated, then the fans maybe start getting on their back, and then you might get up the pitch, get something for a set piece, whether it's a free kick or a corner kick. So that's the game plan that we went with when we played in Europe. But it looks to me that Gio maybe be going in a slightly different way. But listen, we'll just need to wait and see once the kick-off happens, Paul.
Do you know, we asked earlier, you also fed up hearing commentators down south giving Rangers and Celtic stick, saying that the Scottish team shouldn't be in the Champions League?
I think that's a bit disrespectful. I think you just won your league, so they're your champions, ain't you? So you're entitled to go into the Champions League and play. This is the first time Rangers have played the Champions League in 10 years, and isn't that been that great? And I think it'll take a couple of years to get up there, finishing third, second. So I wasn't expecting straight away to be finishing second in this group, but I would never think of that fourth with no points and a -15 goal difference.
And look at the Europa League this year, Barry. I mean, it's unlikely, but it is possible still. Some of the teams that are going to be in there, Bayern Munich.
Yeah, but the Champions League's a place to be, Paul.
Sure.
That's where the
I
money
was trying
is.
to give you a sop, just in case.
No, but listen, It's just been disappointing that we've not gained any points so far. I think it'll be hard tonight, but next week's the big one for me. Look, Ajax are a good team. For me, in my opinion, Ajax are not a top team. So that's one that Rangers next week need to make sure they get points on the board, because they can certainly get a result. But listen, the performances and the standards need to be a bit better if they want to get any more points.
Barcelona in the Europa League as well. There are some top teams, but Mark, it is unlikely that Rangers would get there. But it would be embarrassing to have no points. You know, at the end of the six games.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about that last night as well, Paul. Regardless of the opposition, you know, we've never known Celtic or Rangers. You know, we've known Rangers to reach the last 16. Celtic have reached the last 16. You're getting 7, 8, 9 points. Your home pitch is a fortress, like we're talking about, you know, drawn 0-0 with Barcelona a decade ago. That's not the case anymore, and I know it takes a while to get there, but this Rangers team's had plenty of European experience the past 3 years, you know, 2 under Steven Gerrard, latterly there under Giovanni. So to finish with no points has never happened to a Scottish team, and it wouldn't be acceptable, you know, for the Rangers fans who've paid 180 quid for 3 home games. That's not acceptable. You know, and they want to see more. Like we said, that the Celtic fans have are not happy, but they've accepted that the team's had a go and they've been in the front foot a lot. For Rangers, it's been a different level of performance, and the performances haven't been good enough. They've not been exciting enough. They've looked disjointed. But like I say, Paul, before they kicked the ball in the Champions League, they entered into that tournament in the back of a 4-0 thrashing at Celtic Park, and they've not recovered. You look at it and how quickly as well. You might be all right at half-time tonight. They're great. 25 minutes, Liverpool scored, what, 5 goals, 6 goals in 25 minutes a couple of weeks ago. So you can never switch off. You've got to be bang on it for 90 minutes.
Looking for some positives. Do you know, what about your keeper, Alan McGregor? Didn't start at the start of the season, but he very much is back in. OK, the last game was a really tough one, but you've got a lot of faith in him. He's a top-class keeper. He could be busy tonight, but he could make a big difference.
I think it showed that even against Liverpool, it showed that you need him in between the sticks to definitely keep the scoreline down, but that experience and talk to the back four or whatever it's going to be tonight and help them out and command the box and that. But I think age is getting away with him, but I definitely think the experience will help in defence, but I don't see we'll get a result tonight.
So here's that's the hardest question. Everyone's finding it hard tonight. What do you think the scoreline is going to be?
I don't know. I think keep it under 3 at least.
Keep it under 3.
Aye.
Yeah, Barry, shall I ask you in the next hour? No, let's do it now.
No,
Well,
don't
we
bother.
ask Barry, we have to. Yeah. So
Let's move on, Paul.
I'd like to, but we'll have to find out before.
Listen, I'm going to
before
be
kick-off
positive.
time. Yeah.
I'm going to be positive. They might surprise a few people tonight.
You did say that when you
But
came
I'm not
in.
going to give you my scoreline.
But they might be positive. Yeah.
Listen,
You want to
they've
see
got
a performance.
Yeah, I want
bit
to
of
see.
guts.
Do you know what I want
Yeah.
to see? I want to see a bit of pride brought back. That's what I want to see, and I'm sure the Rangers fans will agree with me. I want to see them getting in their faces when they get into the Rangers half. I want them to a wee bit of nastiness about us as well, which I think's needed. I'm not talking about going over the top and trying to hurt an opponent. Just make sure the opponent you're playing against knows he's in a game, and that's what I'm sure the Rangers fans will expect from the Rangers team tonight.
What do we think here? Can Rangers get a draw tonight? Well, I go for the draw. I feel as though I'm doing an auction. Where are we going to start it? Could we get a draw? Yep, there you are. Well done. You 2 pints there in either hand. I hope she doesn't put her hand up at that point. It would go over the chat there, right? The young woman there is saying a draw. Can Rangers win? Will they win tonight? No, everyone's saying they'd love to, but yeah. So right, it's not the voting, but listen, you never know. Because so often, Mark, we go in with great expectations, but at least tonight, and I keep thinking Rangers' best performance so far was against Napoli until they went down to 10 men.
Yep, they made it. Look, as Barry said, bring back some pride.
Yep.
There's ways to lose, Paul. There's ways to lose. And you can accept because Napoli are a top team, they've got better players, everything. So that's fine. You're not expected to do anything tonight, but there's ways to lose the game. And the way that Rangers have lost some games in Europe, for example, Amsterdam, Ibrox, Liverpool, it's not acceptable. Absolutely not acceptable. So the players got to take some ownership tonight. And if they're going to lose a game, but lose it going down fighting and making a fist of it.
Thanks to everyone who came on in the first hour, back on in the next hour, because in an hour's time it'll be kick-off. We're back after the news.
Good evening, it's 7 o'clock. I'm Kieran Brand. Non-emergency helplines axed, fewer community police officers and potential delays to 999 calls. That's what Police Scotland officials warn could happen under current government funding proposals. It's outlined £11.5 billion in funding for the criminal justice sector over the next 4 years. But with inflation currently sitting at 10.1%, it would mean a significant cut in real terms by April 2027. Scottish Conservative Shadow Justice Secretary Jamie Green says news of potential cuts to police services and numbers should prompt the government to change tack on their budget proposals.
It is a good day for criminals and a bad day for public safety. We could be losing thousands of police officers from the front line from protecting our communities. That is astonishing, and it's simply not good enough. The SNP must absolutely rethink their strategy over police funding and put the resources where they are needed.
Now, the worst health secretary since devolution. That's the label being given to Humza Yousaf over Hit's handling of the NHS's winter preparedness. The health boss had launched his strategy earlier this month by pledging to recruit 1,000 new staff and inject over £120 million into health and social care partnerships. But Labour says much of that won't be implemented in time to make a difference this winter, and that the health secretary's been ignoring calls to change the tack. Labour's health spokesperson Jackie Bailey addressed Holyrood earlier.
Presiding Officer, I have been in Parliament for 23 years, and I can say without fear of contradiction that Humza Yousaf is absolutely the worst health secretary since devolution.
But Humza Yousaf rejected Ms Bailey's accusations, saying the past few years haven't been the easiest for the health service.
For Labour to bring forward a motion about NHS pressures and not to include one single word, not a solitary mention about COVID and the pandemic, demonstrates just how it is Jackie Bailey and her party who have their fingers in their ears and not this government.
It's the end of an era for the UK's most popular car. Ford's going to stop making the Fiesta after more than 4 decades as it moves towards electric vehicles. The car has been on the road since 1976 with more than 22 million produced globally. Erin Baker, who's from the online marketplace Autotrader, thinks we should be prepared for similar moves by other manufacturers.
All brands have faced a tough few years and are looking to consolidate their ranges, get rid of those models that don't sell so well, but also work out where the profitability is in electric for them and which won't make that cull.
And I'm a Celeb's back on our TV screens next month. The show has confirmed on social media that the first episode will air on Sunday the 6th of November at 9 p.m. And it's returning to the Australian jungle, having been filmed in North Wales for the last few series because of the coronavirus pandemic. It's rumoured TV personality Olivia Atwood and Coronation Street's Sue Cleaver are among this year's contestants. Clear spells and a scattering of showers during the early evening. Overnight lows of 10 degrees in Motherwell, 11 in Paisley and here in Glasgow. That's you up to date. On Go.
Welcome back to Hour 2. We're less than 60 minutes away from kick-off. Napoli against Rangers. This is the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors, live from the Radisson Red with Euro Nights in association with Steen. And thanks to everyone, we've got over 2 million downloads, and that's just in the last 10 minutes. No, since the programme came on, Barry, over 2 million and over 6 million hits as well. People, on YouTube. So it's going up and up. And I hear you're a bit of a TikTok sensation.
What's happening?
I didn't think you'd be with the tick.
Listen, I ain't on social media. I'd start that.
Is there a doctor in the house?
I couldn't think anything worse than me being on social media.
Yeah.
I'd just get in trouble.
It'll never catch on social media. I promise you, it won't. We're here.
But I do watch TikTok.
Do you?
It's good.
Yep. Many people watch TikTok in here tonight. No, it's the Rangers game coming up. We'll pack in the laughs now before kick-off because we just don't know what is going to happen. But you never know in European football. Scott, Ross is going to join us just now. Yep. Ross, you're a big keeper, actually, from last year. And you're training as a doctor, I hear. That's why I shoved that in, about a doctor in the house.
Yeah, final year of medicine, so I'll be a doctor soon. So
fantastic.
Hopefully nobody needs to go to the hospital.
We could put you as an auction prize. People will pay thousands for a doctor's appointment.
Placement. His placement at my doctor's.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this a family business we've got here going on?
So I know where to go and get man and flams now.
Magic, yeah. And you played your goalkeeper as well, but you're not playing as much.
Yes, I was talking to Barry. I played against his son, under 14s or whatever. But obviously, Kel's doing a bit better than me in football. But
he's doing all right, isn't he? Yep, down south. So what are you thinking about Rangers tonight? Everyone's in here. Everyone, including Gordon Reid, is here. MBE. We've got 2 MBEs in the house with Barry. Have you two spoken about it? But how you were given MBEs. Where am I taking this? I'm going to get a boot.
On again,
exactly. I'm trying to keep it away from asking you what the scoreline is tonight. What do you feel about this evening? You've heard the team and how Rangers are going to line up, or how do you think they're going to line up?
So I think it'll be a sort of like they'll go out defend as a 4-5-1. I think he's had Sands and Lundstrom in the midfield. He's gone with Davis, he's gone with Arfield, and to be honest, they don't really have the legs to play in Europe, especially in this level. Like Barry says, it took 15, 20 games to get used to it, and I know Davis has played there before, but you basically just need to run a bit.
And just go for it. Do you think, though, he's been too adventurous tonight? Do you think he should have packed in maybe some of the old guard who could get in the faces maybe a bit more and try and contain them? Or is that just...
He's done that in every other game. We've been absolutely hammered, so I think he's just kind of going, nothing to lose, really. We need a point, at least, to stay in the group. So you just need to... Yes, so Sands and Lunch in midfield for the legs. I think kind of Kent and Wright will drop either side of them to make a kind of flat 4 when they're defending, and then try and go forward as a 4-2-3-1.
What about Ryan Kent? 2 years ago, Leeds were in with maybe a £12 million offer. He hasn't signed a new contract, same with Morelos. But what about Ryan Kent? He's such a talented player.
On his day, yeah, but he's probably not done it enough in the last 12, 18 months. We saw it maybe in the European games last year, but he was, I thought, pretty average in domestic football last year. I think we spoke earlier about trying to sign better, and it's sort of just been a myth that we can't get any better than Ryan Kent. I think we need to be aiming for better than Ryan Kent to go forward and be a Champions League team.
And yet, for Ryan Kent, is it hard to switch it back on, Barry? Because he's got the talent.
Yeah, he's definitely got the talent in my eyes, but I think the contract situations had a big effect on him. As a player, you need to make a decision whether you're going to be staying or you're going to be going. And I think Rangers at this stage now need to say to the 3 players that are out of contract, certainly the 2, Morelos and Kent, this is what we can offer you. Are you going to sign? If not, right, you can go obviously in January. It does have an effect on a player. Ryan Jack to a lesser degree, because I think Ryan Jack's performances have been pretty decent. But it's certainly affected Morelos and Kent. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen it with my own eyes, Paul. I've seen it in the dressing room. So I think it's important that both these players make a decision. If they're going to stay, great. If they're going to go, then you shake their hand and wish them all the best for the future.
Ross, what do you feel about Alfredo Morelos?
Similar to Kent, great player on his day this season. I know he came into, missed a lot of pre-season with injuries, but just not done it this season. Maybe a bit of lack of professionalism with it coming back overweight and stuff. But yeah, it's just like Barry says, he needs to make a decision. Is he going to be here? Is he not? And Rangers need to make a decision as well, especially coming up to January, because you need to get rid of them.
Of course. You can hear it from everybody about Ryan Kent and about Alfredo Morelos.
I agree with Ross, but actually Rangers need to make the decision, Paul. And I never thought I would say this about Kent and Morelos, but I'd sell the 2 of them in January. The time's up. They're living in past glories, and they've not made the contribution that they should be making. Ross is absolutely right. There's got to be better than Ryan Kent out there. It's one of the biggest earners. So if you can get a couple of quid for them in January, for both of them, call time on them, because they're not doing what they should be doing. They're not as good as they were 18 months ago, and you can't be carrying passengers that earn huge money. So that's your recruitment's got to come in. Ross Wilson and his team go out and find better, get them at the door in January and move on.
See the problem you've got? They're in control now.
Yeah.
they could turn around in January and say, I don't want to go anywhere. Because obviously if they go in a free transfer, they earn a bit more money in terms of the club was going to pay £1 million or £2 million for them. Obviously, the players would get that, maybe a slice of that come the summer in a free transfer. So I think it's been bad management. I think the decision had to be made last Christmas or the latest the summer. Now it's been dragged on. It's clearly affected both players, and I think there needs to be an answer sooner rather than later.
And Ross, how do you
for
feel
the sake of the club and
for
the sake of the players and the sake of the current team as well?
We need a clarity, everyone does. Ross, what do you feel about the manager?
Well, I was just going to mention there, actually, he's come in for a lot of criticism, which I don't think is hugely unjust, but I think at the same time he's been a bit unfortunate. He's come in at a point where, you know, this squad is at the end of its cycle. The Europa League final was the pinnacle of that squad. I think we need a complete rebuild in the summer, which didn't really happen, and you've got guys like Kent, Morelos, you've got Davis, Jack, Arfield that are all going to be out of contract in the summer, and you effectively have sort of wasted a year, and we're going to need to rebuild next summer anyway. But like I say, his team selection, especially at some points, has been bizarre.
Will he get 2 years without winning the title? I mean, going to Seville, were you there at Seville?
Yeah, we were in Seville, and you were thinking when Naribo scored, it's just one of those games, one shot, one goal, and you win. And then within about 3 minutes or something, Frankfurt had equalised, and you're back down to earth.
But you're hoping to, well, you must have still had great expectations. You were hoping for more signings in the summer. But I mean, the club, there's quite a few bills had to be paid for the most recent years. But do you think he is going to survive?
Not unless performances don't start ramping up. I think he'll definitely get to the World Cup. There's only 4, 5, 6 games to the World Cup. And I suppose Rangers need to make a decision on him as well. Is he going to be the manager next year? If he is, you need to go and back him in January, because regardless of whether he's been good enough or not, the squad's not good enough to win the league. You look at Celtic that went to Hearts with more or less half a team, still put 4 in. Rangers aren't going to do that in a tight game. So I think, you know, Rangers need to know, is he going to be the man? Go and back him in January and see what we can do.
It's going to be a massive game at the weekend. Barry said at the top of the programme, I know we're talking mainly about Napoli tonight, but I mean, my goodness,
It's
Aberdeen.
Four massive games, but Aberdeen, St Johnstone away the following Sunday live on Sky. He's got to take 12 points. Ross is saying he'll definitely be the manager until the World Cup. I'm not so sure about that. I think he drop any points in these 4 games, he's out the door. I don't think the board, regardless of the financial situation or whatever it may be, you have to go and make a change, because clearly you look at Giovanni as well. I watched his interview on Saturday night after the Livingston game, and we know the signs. We know the signs. To me, that looks like a man that feels he's on the way out, that feels he's lost something. You said they've peaked. They've peaked in Seville. They were a penalty kick away from winning the Europa League. It's been downhill since then, which I wouldn't put at the manager's door, but ultimately the manager pays the price. I hope he wins his 4 games, because I like Giovanni van Bronckhorst, but if he doesn't, I think the trigger will be pulled on him.
You reckon before the World Cup?
If he doesn't win his 4 games.
Sure. And we hate to talk that way, Barry, don't we? Especially when, he was your colleague and he's your friend, and he seems a really good gentleman who knows everything. He's done everything in the game, and he took Rangers to the final, 5 months ago?
Yeah, but he'll know himself. He'll know himself. He needs to get 12 points. You just mentioned there, Aberdeen, St Johnstone, I think it's Hearts and St Mirren. That's the 4 games. 2 home, 2 away, maximum 12 points. I said it last week, it had to be 15 out of 15, and then obviously it was a tough watch on Saturday again, poor performance. They've come in for a lot of criticism, and rightly so, but that's what happens when you play at a big club like Rangers. There's demands and expectations on you, Paul. And clearly the performances have not been good enough, the results have not been good enough, so it's a big couple of weeks for Gio.
Ross, let's lift it now here. What's your favourite all-time Rangers team or game? What was your favourite moment as a Rangers supporter?
So, obviously I've not had speak to my dad, and he had Gaza and Loudrup and all that in the 90s. I had Dean Shields and Nicky Clark of the 2010s, so I've not had the best time supporting Rangers, but I I think probably that Leipzig game at Ibrox is best. Like, I've been to the Nou Camp for a game against Atletico, but that Leipzig game was just unbelievable, especially with scoring pretty late on as well.
And the atmosphere that night?
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
He summed it up perfectly. That's ridiculous. The atmosphere at European nights is just special at Ibrox under the lights. It is special. Just unfortunately, the performances in the Champions League this year have not been great. But in saying that, I thought 45 minutes against Napoli, they competed. 45 minutes, they competed against Liverpool. But you need to do that for 90 minutes. I know it's a tough ask, but when you're playing at the top level, if you switch off for a split second, you get annihilated. And that's unfortunately what's happened to Rangers in some of the games.
All-time favourite Rangers player?
Goalie. Who's your favourite goalie?
Who would you go for? Yeah. The doctor's having a think about it. He's consulting.
You need to come back to me after the game.
The receptionist says you can't speak to the doctor.
I probably would say Alan McGregor, not just because of my goalie, but more for what he did before. Obviously, into kind of administration. I think that penalty save against Samaras, a great memory as well.
Good point.
Was there.
Just moving forward, is McLaughlin and McCrory good enough to fill his gloves moving forward? Or do you think they need to get into the market?
Yeah, I don't think any, being brutally honest, I don't think any of the three of them, I've not seen a lot of McCrory, but McLaughlin and McGregor aren't good enough. Everybody was slaughtering McLaughlin for a couple of mistakes. I think McGregor's come in, Dundee United, I thought he should have saved it. Liverpool, everybody says about Liverpool away, an amazing performance. I don't think any of the saves were out of this world that you wouldn't expect from a good goalie in the Champions League.
Well, he's a tough taskmaster.
Sorry, you don't think any of them are out of this world at Anfield?
Apart from the Salah one where he cuts inside and curls it in, I think a lot of them were.
Oh, there was 2 or 3 proper saves. 2 or 3 proper ones.
Can I just say about McCrory, he's got potential, McCrory. He just needs to play. And I think the best thing for him come January is go and play for 6 months somewhere. Go and play 15, 20 games, because potentially he has got it in the locker.
I think as well, coming back to the point about Kent, about go and get better than Kent, coming back to McGregor, go and get a better shot stopper than McGregor. Go and get a guy that's better with his feet than McLaughlin. It might cost you a few million, but they spent 5-6 million on.
No, but you're right. Well, you'll know it, and Barry will know. Apart from your number 9, the goalkeeper is the most important position at the club.
100%.
Yeah.
What I've always says, a goalkeeper is worth, a top-class goalkeeper is worth 15, 18 points a season.
Yeah.
Especially, you look nowadays with Liverpool and Man City, Ederson, Alisson, they effectively come out as an extra player in the build-up. So
The only problem, they cost 100 million.
If you're willing to pay, or if you have paid 5 million for a left back, then you should be willing to go and pay 7 or 8 for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like you said, if you're paying 5 million for a left back to fill that, well, it seemed like a pretty big position to fill, even though he's not really had a chance. Like, surely go and pay that for a goalie.
Champions League is 40 minutes away. What's your scoreline? What do you reckon, Ross?
I've not had the media training that Gordon and my dad have had, so...
they body swerved it a wee bit, but yeah.
I think a 1 each or a 2 each would be out of this world, like a really, really good result. But I think anything less than losing by 2 would be all right.
Yeah. And I think Barry would agree, and I think everyone would agree. A score draw tonight would be absolutely amazing. I'm trying to bring you into. We're trying to lift everyone ahead of it. I know. I know. I've got that, and I've got the bruises to prove it. Doctor, you'll soon be doctor, so that's great, Dr. Steen. Yep.
Next August, so.
Fantastic.
Watch out, Glasgow.
Yeah, exactly. Watch out for the graduation. That'll be some party. Oh, listen, no finer profession. Thanks very much. Hopefully you'll join us for the podcast later with Steen here at the Radisson Red. This is the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors. We're back in a moment. This is the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors, coming live from the Radisson Red, our Euro Night special with our friends at Steen, one of Scotland's leading mechanical and electrical contractors. And it's great to see so many people in here tonight. Barry Ferguson, who captained Rangers all the way to a European final, which we all remember, Manchester 2008. And you got past an Italian team on the way, as I recall. You did?
Yeah, we did in the semi-final, Fiorentina. Why are you bringing this up? Because I missed a penalty?
No, not at all.
Is that why?
No, because it was Rangers triumphed over Italian opposition. That's exactly why it is.
Yeah, I missed the first penalty, and I was absolutely devastated. I turned round and I seen the boys' heads just all drop, but thankfully our keeper on the night made a couple of saves, Neil Alexander.
Of course,
And we get through into the final. That was a brilliant run, come up against some top teams. And again, what we were speaking about before in the show, we had a game plan at home. We attacked teams away from home. We sat in and try and hit on the counter-attack or hopefully get something for a set piece, and it worked wonders. And it was the late, great Walter Smith who, of course, managed and coached us through that.
Yeah. No, I was doing my homework today, Mark. There's a first for everything. And I was just looking at the record, Italian teams against Rangers, and it's been really, really tough.
Yeah, I was there that night in Florence, the semi-final, 2008. I obviously watched Rangers, a couple of sore ones as well. Juventus springs to mind. But then it was a good result. Barry, you guys, Big Alex team against Inter Milan, wasn't it?
Milan,
yeah, right. It was a good... it was also, look... I think tonight you can tell Parma as well. Yeah, we dixed him and you were breaking through, and that was a qualifier. When it was a Champions League qualifier to get there.
They had Buffon, Crespo,
that's right.
Ortiga. They had some amount of play. Wow. They were a top team at that time. Parma.
They were right up there in Serie A every year. But it might be one where Rangers just go against the tide, Paul, and it turns tonight. You know, you've got to take hope from what Rangers did back in February against Borussia Dortmund. You think about it. I mean, I don't think anybody gave Rangers a chance over the two legs prior to that game. Borussia Dortmund had Haaland in their team, all that kind of stuff. So maybe they might just produce something because the feeling in the room, and you can understand why, because there's no evidence to suggest that Rangers can get anything tonight. Maybe they'll just pull off a wee shock. That's what you've got to hope.
How do you think they're going to line up for those who are just tuning in here to the show?
I think it'll be a 4-2-3-1. It's McGregor in goals, back four, Tavernier, King, Davies and Yilmaz. Midfield holding two of Lundstrom and Sands, and then Wright, Thielman and Kent in behind Morello. You've got a bit of flexibility middle to front, but it's certainly going to be a flat back four with your two holders.
Ashley's joining us now, a Rangers fan. Ashley, good to meet you. You're local. This is a really home game for you, isn't it?
Yes, but I fancied getting out of the house to watch it instead of sitting in and experiencing the atmosphere with all of you people.
Excellent. And you've been well looked after?
Oh, yes. I've really enjoyed my pizza and my pint.
Excellent. So, that shirt is familiar to many of us. I guess some of your favourites would have been around the Ali McCoist era.
Yeah, so I am, what was this shirt? Let me think. I was born in 87, so 96, 97, or have I got that wrong? Does that sound about right?
No,
95. Oh, I've got it wrong
95.
then.
94, 95.
It's the McEwen's Lager one. Yeah, with the V-neck.
Yeah. Yep. That reminds me of like Mark Haley. You can picture Mark Haley wearing that.
Sure. Played against Marseille, of course, so at 92.
Well done, David.
Absolutely.
Well done.
David
right
and Billy there. So before your time, what are you thinking? Ashley, what are you thinking tonight then? What?
Okay, so I had a dream last night that it was a 1-1 draw.
Right. 1-1 draw.
Yeah, and I feel pretty confident about that, and I would be happy with that result because then obviously next game's back at Ibrox, hopefully get 3 points. I just think this Rangers team, they're full of surprises. When you think we're going to do well, we don't. When you kind of start giving up hope, we pull out a surprise. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident about a draw.
Good phone you if I cancel the game. Ashley says 1-1, and everyone here says, yep, we'll take that. Yep, we'd take 1-1. Barry, that would be phenomenal.
Bite your arm off for that.
Yep, we would indeed. Who's your favourite player at the moment for Rangers? Try and get some positives tonight. I'm thinking maybe the goalkeeper, Alan McGregor, has been
Listen,
fantastic.
I think the outfield 11 need to have a top game. They need to be on it.
Every one of them.
Listen, they're going to go spells in the game without the ball. 5-10 minutes where you just need to let them have it, and sometimes you've got to let the opposition have the ball, as long as you don't leave gaps in between where they can get through you. So that's where the discipline comes in the set-up. And hopefully the last couple of days they've worked hard on that. And the key is tonight, frustrate Napoli.
Make it ugly.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you've got to do that to get results.
Yeah, but Barry's spot on. Your team shape is so important tonight, and every player to stick to their role. You think back to Amsterdam, you think back to the second half at Ibrox a couple of weeks ago against Liverpool. It became disjointed. They were all over the place. Tactically lost their discipline, lost their shape, and they were punished. They were just picked off at ease. Now, it happened at Anfield as well, but McGregor saved them from a hiding, but they still looked all right at Anfield. But if they start the way they started in Amsterdam in game number 1, it's got the potential to be a real sore one tonight, Paul. Particularly that lineup. It's not a defensive lineup. It's not a lineup where you could say 10 men behind the ball and try and nick something in the last 20 minutes. For me, that suggests he's going for the opening goal. Giovanni's setting up to go and try and get the opening goal, and that could lead to him being picked off. But you must keep your shape and be tactically disciplined.
Ashley?
Personally, I'm really excited to see Yilmaz play tonight. I know it was just Dundee, but I really enjoyed his performance. I do think Barisic has come under unfair criticism personally, but I'm really excited to see what he does tonight.
I'll tell you, Barisic at least has bounced back this season, hasn't he? Because last, you would have thought he might be away in the close season.
I just want to see more for Barisic. Like, I think he's got everything in the locker in terms of going forward. He delivers a brilliant ball. Just sometimes I think he's a bit negative at times, but maybe that's down to a bit of confidence. But he's certainly, he's shown that he's a good player. But I'm with Ashley, I'm looking forward. It's a big test for Ridvan tonight. And we'll see how he can handle the pressures of playing against, in my eyes, a top team.
Did you see some of that 5 million potential when you watched him?
He showed a bit of positivity,
Yeah.
I thought, against Dundee. He wanted to get forward, he wanted to try and make things happen. And that's what you want to see for a player that's been signed for that amount of money. But also it showed me that he wanted to try and impress not just the manager, but the supporters that were inside the stadium. So certainly showed signs that there is a player there. But again, you need to do it over a period of time, Paul. He's only had a couple of starts and a substitute appearance, but this is a big test for him, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles it physically as well, because when you look at him, stature of him, he's not the biggest, but that doesn't say that he's not going to be a real good player.
A bit like Greg Taylor at Celtic, not the biggest, but he's having the season of his life.
And the backup guy at £3.5 million, Bernabei, 5'7", 5'8", Taylor the same. It's just it's not but your height that level. You look at the great Man City team, Paul. So height is not important at this level. It's your desire, obviously, and your ability.
What about Leon King? What are you thinking? It's been some season for him. 18 years old, Mark.
Yeah, listen, and Paul, this will do him the world of good again tonight. You think of what Leon King will learn, what he has learned already, what he will learn, and if need be, he can become a number 1 centre half for next season. But he has to be protected tonight. Tavernier needs to protect him. I don't think Tavernier protected him enough at Ibrox in the second half against Liverpool. Thought he left the young man exposed at times. Lundstrom needs to protect. James Sands, they need to really be true, proper, sitting defensive midfielders tonight. So Leon King will be fine, but don't leave him exposed, because he's not up at that level yet. He's no Connor Goldson. He's got a lot of potential, but they need to help protect the young man tonight.
And Connor Goldson, Barry, that's a good point, isn't it? He will be so badly missed. A casualty of just the other week, and he's out now for weeks.
Not just because he's a good player, he's a communicator, he's a talker, he's a leader on the pitch and off the pitch. And that's something that I think Rangers lack big time. So that's the biggest miss that you're going to get from not having a player like Connor Goldson, is his leadership qualities in terms of dragging people about and being vocal. And it's so important that you've got vocal players on the pitch. And listen, I think this sticky period Rangers have been through, young Leon King can hold his head high. For me, he's shown a maturity for 18. And I just think, in time, I think there's a real potential he could be a top centre-back. But Mark's spot on. The experienced guys in that group need to help him.
And another young player on loan, Tillman. It could be a night, could we?
Yeah, again, he's got all the tools, I call it. But again, I need to see it
for 90
more often.
minutes. Yeah.
I don't want to see it in bits and bobs or 5-minute periods here and there. I want to see it for. I know it's impossible to do it for 90 minutes, but I need to see a more consistent level from him. 100% there's a player in there. There's no doubt he can make things happen. He can do things with a ball that other players can't. But I need to see it on a more consistent basis.
Let's hear, Alan, what GVB was saying about tonight's opposition, about Napoli.
The game management is very important. We're facing a team who's attacking really fast and good with quality players all over the pitch. So in these environments, you have to be, I think, defensively quite solid, but still have to find the moments to attack well. If that's in transition or in build-up. But if you come here and only defend for 90 minutes, it's waiting for the damage to be done. We have to be ready to be solid, but take our moments to be dangerous as well. And I think that's very important for tomorrow. And of course, you want to start well. Make sure you're still in the game in the second half to get a positive result.
Start well, Barry. Stay in the game.
Stay in the game. Start well. Again, I keep using this word. You've got to be disciplined. Every single player on the pitch needs to do his job at 100%. And as I said, it's a cliche. You hear everybody say it, but it is so important that you make sure that Napoli know they're in a game and you're going to be tough to break down. And then you can see bits of frustration in the opposition. So hopefully Rangers can do that tonight. And the longer the game goes on, then you never know what can happen. That's the way you've got to look at it.
Mark, and on the bench, I know it'll depend what's happening. If Rangers are still, if they're maybe 1 down or 2 down, you can't let it go any further than that. But if they are 0-0 or 1-1 late in the game, is there anyone on the bench that you could see coming on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can look at it. Arfield scored a fantastic goal.
Yeah.
At Ibrox last time out. You've got Cholak in there, who's the #1 striker at the club. Dare I say it, Matondo's got fantastic pace. He can hurt defence. He just doesn't do it often enough. 1 out of 10's no good enough.
And
Sakala's got good pace as well. So they have got the ability to make changes going hot. The 2 key points of Giovanni's interview, which is, straightforward. It's what you'd expect him to say. Defensively, game management, so important. And offensively, be ready to take a moment. Because in every game of football, Paul, regardless of the difference of levels, Rangers will get a chance tonight. They might only get 1. You think back to Anfield, they get 2 chances in the last 2 minutes, and Alisson made 2 really good saves. So they will get a chance tonight, and they need to be ready to take it. And if you do that, and McGregor has a game of his life, you just don't know what could happen.
Like the sound of that. Yeah, Ashley. Yep.
Okay, but if you only get 1 chance in the game, don't you want our new striker being the one that's in the starting 11 then? Because I feel like he's much better at finishing his chances, whereas Morelos lacks a little bit of composure, don't you think?
Barry?
Yeah, it's a good point. Cholak is a natural goal scorer. But Morelos, for me, has got a point to prove. He needs to start showing it. There's no doubt, for me, he's a top striker. He's just not done it enough this season. We all discipline, not been fit enough. Now he's got an opportunity. I was watching the game last week against Dundee, and he was frustrating the living daylights out of me. I'm saying I need to see more, because what he can bring to a Rangers team is so much. Not just goals, his link-up play, his physicality. So tonight, for me, he must be thinking, right, do you know what, I need to go and show that I'm the #1 striker at Rangers. But at this moment in time, the #1 striker is Cholak because of his goals.
And you can understand Ashley
and
saying...
I'm a big fan of Morelos.
Oh, he was your first pick for a long time.
He was, but I just want more for him because he's not given enough.
Cholak, he would come on if there's a sniff. It's still got a chance because he's a on-form striker.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ashley's right. The evidence is there. Cholak is a #1 at the moment. But again, the fact that he's no starting tonight, Paul, I think just, backs up the point that there's clearly one eye on Saturday. There's one eye at Ibrox against Aberdeen on Saturday. And if you can stay in the game, and Barry's right, Morelos, I wasn't at the game last midweek against Dundee, but I heard a number of Rangers supporters saying that they thought that Morelos' attitude was not good enough. He needs to come out of this huff. He owes Rangers something. He owes his teammates something. He owes his manager something. He owes his supporters something, because too often in the past few months he's let the club down, he's let himself down, and that's not a one-off, Paul. It goes back to Gerrard's time, giving time after time, chance after chance. So he owes Rangers something tonight for me, there's no doubt about that. Whether he wants to do it, whether he wants to give something back, I don't know, but he owes the club something.
Does everyone agree here in the Radisson Red that, show of hands, could see much more from Morelos? I don't think anyone would disagree. Everyone agrees with you. There's only one more break and then the teams will be out. We're about 20 minutes away from kick-off. And Ashley, for those just tuning in, you had a dream last night and it was?
1-1.
You're the commentator. You're pretty good, actually. It could be.
Well, if insurance doesn't work out, that's what I'll look into doing, commentating.
Great, Ashley. Thanks very much for joining us here. And we're back just after this. Tomorrow night we'll be on air from 5 back to 5 o'clock with Andy Walker and Craig Moore. And you were out with Craig at the weekend, Barry, so he'll be with us tomorrow night. I wonder what we're going to be talking about. We're just moments away from Napoli against Rangers. This is the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors, and we're live from the Radisson Reds in Glasgow with Euronites in association with Steen, one of Scotland's top, I would say the top electrical and mechanical contractor. Just need a wee bit of help in the house. I'm kidding.
There's no doubt about that. They are the top. They are the top.
We would never do that. We've got Gordon Reid, MBE, with us. Everyone knows him. A great star from wheelchair tennis. Winning at Wimbledon, you've done it a few times. How special was that for you, Gordon?
Yeah, that was amazing for me. It's the tournament that I grew up watching as a kid on the TV. When I was a young kid, I played a lot of football as well, and it was always my dream to play for Rangers. But when I started needing the wheelchair for sport and got back into tennis, Wimbledon was always the one that I wanted to be at. So to have a chance to play there and win a title was incredible.
And the strength that you require for what you do, it's phenomenal. I mean, isn't it, Barry?
You've got to admire it. And I've been lucky enough to be at Wimbledon. I got it for one of my birthdays down there. Done the Pims and strawberry and cream and too much champagne.
Lovely.
The only thing I didn't like when there was always a break, you had to go to the toilet and you weren't allowed back in when it started. So that kind of annoyed me. But That's life, innit? But
let me know which court you're on next time. I'll speak to the right people. Like that.
Sorry, that's why I'm bumming you up so I can get tickets.
Barry Ferguson from Lanarkshire. It's the Pims, it's the strawberries, it's the champagne. Where did it go wrong for Barry? And what a player he was.
I need to ask his undergardener.
Oh, steady. Gordon, everyone's saying about the Rangers team tonight, but actually, what's your view on the lineup?
Well, I know there's been quite a lot of doom and gloom tonight about, kind of probably understandably with the way Rangers have been playing recently, but I actually quite like the team. I think there's a bit of freshness in there. I think a lot of fans have been calling for Yilmaz to get a chance, and now he's got it in one of the biggest stages. And he's a guy that, from the little that we've seen of him so far, he seems like he wants to be positive, go forward. He's happy to carry the ball, come inside, which Barisic hasn't. Which I actually agree with what Ashley was saying earlier, that I think Barisic has been one of our better players this season. Sometimes a bit too negative, but I think he's been one of our better ones. But I think if you look at the guys further up the pitch, I think Tillman, Wright and Kent are all comfortable with the ball. They're all good dribblers, so hopefully they can carry the ball forward. And Morelos, we know his strengths of holding up and bullying the centre-back. So I think you were saying, Barry, we might be a little bit too open, but you look at that team, I look at that team and think we might actually be able to do some damage in attack as well, which has not always been the case recently.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope Gordon's right. Listen, I would love nothing more than Rangers to come away for Napoli with at least a point. It's going to be difficult, but listen, there's crazier things happening in football. Listen, Napoli are the informed team. They're everybody's favourites. Rangers ain't playing well just now. What Ashley did say, I agreed with as well. When you're expecting Rangers to do well, they don't. So everybody, for me, is expecting Rangers to get beat tonight. So hopefully they go and surprise and shock a few people and come back with a point, which I think is going to be real difficult.
Manager's just being interviewed live just now. We'll let you know what he's saying. If we can lip read, we're just checking there. But look at what happened last night. Leipzig, for example, beating Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Real Madrid, the reigning champions. So, and Barry just said it, that anything can happen.
Yeah, it can. Rangers are the classic example. Anything can happen, Paul. We got a European final 5 months ago when we weren't expected, and beat some top teams along the way. They weren't given an easy ride. Beat Borussia Dortmund on the way, beat Leipzig, Braga. They're taking a number of big scalps in the past 3 years, so they can draw on that. And as we've said, it's almost the same team. It's kind of 2 or 3 new players in there, but they can produce something special. It's just we've not seen it in the past 4 games, so there's no evidence there. But there's a chance that because Napoli have qualified, so that as much as they've made changes, that they're possibly slightly off the ball, and Rangers need to be ready to take advantage of it. Like they said, they will get a chance. When it comes, what the score is at the time, we don't know, but they will get a chance. And it's been shown with Celtic, you don't take your chances, you don't win the game. But if Rangers get something tonight, whether it's Morelos, whether it's Tillman, and one thing about Tillman is he's so intelligent, he knows the game. I mean, he's a kid, he's not got a lot of experience, but he's a clever footballer, and he's got the ability to go and hurt Napoli tonight. If he teams up with Morelos and they get it going, he's got the ability to go and hurt Napoli.
Yep. Every single player needs to bring their A game tonight. There need to be solid, compact. There needs to be a real togetherness tonight if Rangers are going to get anything from the game. What might be a benefit is they've made a few changes, but again, we spoke about it at the start of the show. They're a big club. They've got a strong squad. They've got 25 players that could easily play in the starting 11 any day of the week. So we all know it's going to be tough, but listen, it's one that Rangers need to go, I'll use the word, get a bit of pride back, go and show how much it means to them, how much they care about it. So let's hope they can get something from it.
What about Morelos? You mentioned him earlier on. This could be his night, because look at his record in Europe. In the last couple of seasons, he was a standout for Rangers, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think when you were asking some people, earlier coming up, who their favourite players were, it's Morelos has been that player for me over the last couple of years. He's been the guy that's dragged us through countless games, but we all know the situation that's been going on recently, being left out of the squad towards the start of the season, and since he's come back, he's not looked his old self. But maybe looking at it positively, maybe this is a kind of night that will spark that again in him, and we need Morelos firing, and we need him scoring goals if we're going to have success this season. So hopefully it's the start of it tonight.
But Gordon, you're a world-class athlete. you've been injured, but you look fit. He came back from injury and did not look as though he'd looked after himself. It's true, isn't it? He was carrying a few pounds.
Yeah, I think it is difficult. I mean, maybe it's because I'm wearing black, but I was carrying a few pounds and I came back from my injury as well. And I think it's not only, I mean, this is the first big injury I've had in my career. And it's given me a new sort of understanding and appreciation for footballers that have injuries, long-term injuries, because it's the last thing in the world as an athlete you want to be sitting there and unable to play. Mm-hmm. You know, I know it's frustrating for us as fans to not have our best players coming out week in, week out due to injuries, but the people that are most frustrated are the players themselves. They'll be doing everything they can to get back in the pitch playing again because they don't want to be missing out on the Champions League nights and the big games like this. So, yeah, I think it's not only a physical challenge with an injury, it's a psychological one as well. And, you know, that's the sort of the two sides of it that you have to try and battle to get back to your best.
And hopefully you'll be back to your best for next season and challenging again for the world title, which you've won so many times with Alfie.
Yeah, I'll try my best. Yeah, I'm hoping to be 100% for the Australian tour at the start of next year in January. So fingers crossed I'll be there.
Australia in January, that'd be lovely in Melbourne, isn't it? Of course, Barry.
I don't know about Pims, but they'll have plenty of beers over there.
Can we do it over there,
Barry?
Barry,
let me know.
I'll be
Fancy
happy
it.
with Buckfast, don't worry.
So, have you changed your mind on the scoreline? Because you're given a bit of hope here tonight without getting carried away. I'm obsessed with getting the scoreline. What do you think, Gordon Reid? What would you say?
Honestly, I think it could be anything. It could be absolutely anything in it. That's why it's so difficult to predict. I don't, normally sometimes I think before games you have a feeling or a little glimmer here and there, but I've got absolutely no idea. I think if we can get the first goal, we can come away with something. But if we don't, I think it's scary times.
And could you imagine what it would do for Rangers' season, though, Mark? If Rangers get a draw tonight, or maybe even just a narrow defeat or whatever, that would be huge, I think, for Saturday.
Yeah, but for Saturday. And Paul, what you want at the end of the 90 minutes tonight, both here and over in Amsterdam, is that Rangers have got something to play for at Ibrox next week. Can you imagine going into that game against Ajax next midweek with 50,000 Rangers fans, and if you win the game, you're through. Considering where Rangers are just now, imagine that scenario is on the horizon. So that's all you can hope for, as you give yourself something to play for next week. Longer term, it's about winning the league. It's about clawing back that deficit against Celtic. But tonight, I can't see it. I think Rangers will score. I'll give you a scoreline. I think it's Napoli 3, Rangers 1.
Okay.
I think Rangers will get a goal, but I think Napoli will just be too good for them.
Gordon's nodding to that one. I mean, that's not a bad sounding, or am I sounding defeatist on that? 3-1?
I wouldn't take 3-1 now, no.
Good.
I want to see us do better than that. But obviously it could go the other way.
Yeah.
But I think, as Barry was saying, we want to get a bit of pride back, and maybe a 3-1 battling, close match. Maybe that does bring a wee bit, but really it needs to be better than that if we're going to get a good amount of pride back.
Of course, and that means for next week you're looking for a win at Ibrox, because the no points is not happy reading.
No, not at all. And I think the lack of goals as well has been one of the worst things, because at the end of the day we all enjoy the sport because it's entertaining as well, and I think there's been a severe lack of entertainment from a Rangers point of view recently. So yeah, hopefully we can get at least a couple of goals next week as well, and a win would be brilliant.
And Barry, if you were the manager, would you be showing them, well, they'll know the table, and saying, look, 16 goals against, 1 goal for, and no points. It's not Rangers.
I don't think you need to show them the table. They just need to realise who they're playing for. They're playing for a brilliant football club. They've had some poor performances. They've got a couple of games, as Gordon just mentioned there, to use the word, to get a bit of pride back. And I just want to see them roll the sleeves up and get wired in about it and see what it takes them. Go and make it difficult for Napoli tonight. Go and try and frustrate them. Don't give them any time in the ball, because when you give good players time in the ball, they're going to do one thing, and that's hurt you. So look, I'm looking for a Rangers performance full of spirit and character tonight, and we'll see where that takes us.
Here's GVB. Let's hear from him one more time when he said, yep, he knows Rangers need to do something really positive tonight.
You know, if you don't have the results, especially in Champions League, which is, of course, really hard because of the opposition, I think the best thing is to get a good result. And that's also for us tomorrow what we want to achieve in a difficult stadium with against a really good team. To get confidence, you know, you have to have a good performance and of course, something positive out of the game.
Big night for the captain, Gordon, isn't it? Obviously for Tav, who's been phenomenal for the club. What are you looking from him tonight? Is he vocal enough?
I just don't think that's his character. That's not his personality, and I don't think he's going to change now. But I think when we're doing well and we were getting results in Europe last season, that wasn't coming into question. So why all of a sudden are people bringing that up again? I think, you know, I think it's true that there's maybe a little bit a lack of that all through the team, and I think Goldson is a big loss because I think he was probably the guy, him and McGregor together were the most vocal in the squad. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Tavernier, I think he'd be the first to say that he's not reached the heights that he expects of himself and we expect of him this season so far. A lot of people have been questioning whether he's carrying an injury recently, and everybody said that he isn't. Whether you believe it or not, I'm not sure, but I think he's got to be tidier today. I think he lost the ball quite a lot recently. Simple passes, and we can't afford to do that against Napoli. We've got to take more care of the ball to be able to hurt them. So, yeah, hopefully it's a positive game from him, and he can show us what he's capable of recently.
Barry, this is the highest level. Have you played in that ground in the Maradona Stadium in Napoli?
No. I may have. Did Scotland play there?
I'm thinking.
Naples.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I'll need to go. But my memory's terrible.
Yours is brilliant.
I can remember Milan, San Siro. It was Walter's first game in charge as Scotland manager. I remember that one, a Saturday night game. I can't remember.
I think maybe I've played there against that. I'll need to look back.
Right.
Remember they beat us 2-0?
Yeah. You think it was there?
That was 2-0 in Milan. Kenny Miller must have
there was
cleaned
another
through,
place
was there?
after that.
It was down in Barry.
Barry, yeah.
Down in Barry.
Well, I should know that, shouldn't I?
But one of the great players, Gordon, wasn't he? Maradona. And then look at last night, the goals from Mbappe. Did you see some of the Messi last night? Neymar. The Champions League is where you want to be, at the top level.
Absolutely, and obviously we don't want to be taking the pumpings that we have been taking this year in the Champions League. That's not why we're there. But you'd rather be playing the Tuesday and Wednesday nights than the Thursday nights, and maybe it's not actually been the best thing for the team this season because the European performances last season seemed to kind of spur the team on as we went through it. But I think when you're getting hammered week in, week out in Europe, it's difficult to bounce back from that domestically as well.
Everyone's getting ready here now for the game itself. Just a quick comfort break, and then I see there's some good pizza out there. I see Chris Traynor was there a few moments ago, who was at the Celtic game last night, but he's just moved through there. Looking forward to the game. There's the trepidation about it. I'm not going to ask a scoreline again here tonight. You've got the hair a bit longer, Gordon, I noticed as well.
I know, yeah. I've had nothing else to do, so I've just been growing the hair out.
Is that going to come back? Get rid of that in time for Australia in January. Gordon, hopefully we'll speak to you on the podcast later. Thanks so much, Gordon Reid. There's a good crowd in the stadium, Mark, your trackside at the Radisson Red.
yeah, you know, the Maradona stadium, you know, what a player he was for Napoli. Obviously won Serie A just about single-handedly for them, you know, 40-odd years ago. It'll be a great experience for the Rangers players tonight. You just hope that they can do themselves justice, get a result for themselves, keep themselves involved in the tournament. And for Scottish football as well, Paul, we need a shot, we need a boost, and it'd be good if it came tonight.
Here come the teams are coming out now, and looking forward to it. Barry, this last few moments, Rangers playing in the change strip because Napoli playing in the light blue, Rangers in an orange strip.
Yep, hopefully the changey strip does him a favour tonight. But look, as a footballer, Paul, see just walking out just now, and then that tune playing, that's the ultimate as a footballer. So hopefully they can do themselves justice tonight and maybe take something from a game.
Thanks for joining us, Barry. You'll be back for the podcast with Steen later here at the Radisson Red. Gordon Reid, thanks for joining us. Billy and everyone who spoke. Mark as well.
Thanks, Paul. Enjoyed it.
You'll be back very, very soon. There it is, the Champions League music. We'll hear it again next week when Celtic are in action. We'll hear it at Ibrox when Rangers play Ajax. And can they go in with anything after tonight. We sincerely hope so. Thanks to everyone for joining us here at the Radisson Red with Steen. It's the Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors. We'll be back on tomorrow night at 5. Good night.
As one of Scotland's leading mechanical and electrical contractors, Steen delivers a wide range of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, heating and renewable solutions for your home or business. Our specialist team provides our clients with the highest quality service and installations, giving them peace of mind and confidence to return in the future. So, for all your mechanical and electrical projects, regardless of size or complexity, make Steen your partner of choice. For more information, visit steenelectricalsolutions.co.uk.
Euro Nights from the Go Radio Football Show with Steen. Pay less energy bills with the zero carbon options for your home or business.
And the whistle has just gone in Napoli in the full-time score. Napoli 3, Rangers 0. So Rangers' dream in the Champions League we knew was over. But Barry, with the news that Liverpool have beaten Ajax 3-0, next week it's about pride. But what did you feel about tonight? It was 2-0 after 16 minutes, but it stayed that way until midway through the second half. What did you feel about the Rangers' performance?
Well, after you go 2 goals down, Paul, after 16 minutes, you're obviously going to be worried. But obviously they kept it 2-0 until half time. And I thought the performance in the second half was, at least it showed a bit of character. He changed the formation when he made the substitutes. He went to a 5-4-1, which we spoke about before the game. I thought it would have been better suited starting like that. If I'm being honest with you, keep it 0-0 as long as possible. Listen, but he went with a certain formation, 3-0. You're up against a quality team, albeit they left out some quality players. But it could have been worse, but credit to the players. They stuck at it. And listen, it all boils down to next Tuesday night at Ibrox against Ajax. And as I says at the start of the programme, now they need to go and do something about it and get a result and get 3 points or a point and salvage a bit of pride, at least in the Champions League.
And will this team do that next week? Do you think they can do it against Ajax?
Yeah, well, you're at home. You're playing in front of 52,000 of your own fans. They'll be demanding that. But first and foremost, they need to concentrate on Saturday afternoon against Aberdeen at Ibrox. Make sure they get the 3 points, build a bit of confidence, and then hopefully get something at least from the Ajax game.
Well, you know the voice there, Barry Ferguson, the Rangers legend. We're still here with friends, Rangers fans who are in town here at the Radisson Red, and we're in association with Steen, Mark Guidi. We said beforehand, try and keep it tight, not give anything away early on, but those 2 goals, Simeone, special, in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, two really good finishes, although, maybe Alan McGregor will be disappointed with the first goal, but the defenders in front of him weren't doing him any favours. The start of the game, Paul, was every bit as painful as it was in Amsterdam. Barry spoke about being disciplined, tactically disciplined. That's what we're not being disjointed. They weren't disciplined and they were totally disjointed, and you thought, my God, this could be anything. Thankfully it wasn't, but I have to say, we spoke about it before the start of the game, so we're not saying this with the benefit of hindsight.
No.
I don't get the manager's starting lineup. I genuinely don't. I don't get his formation. It should have been tighter, but he's gone open and they were picked off, so I don't know what he was thinking. Underestimated Napoli, I'm not quite sure, but it's painful reading at the end, Paul. 0 points on the board, 1 goal scored, 19 goals conceded, but there's still a chance to go out and finish off on a high in front of 50,000 Rangers supporters who've paid a lot of money to watch the Champions League and go and get 3 points. I think it's too big an ask to beat Ajax 4 or 5-0 to finish in third place, but go and win the game. It's also lucrative, worth the best part of £1 million to win a game, so go and do that. But credit to Rangers the second half. I thought Yilmaz defensively in the first 25 minutes was all over the place. I'd have been tempted to hook him and take him off after 25 minutes, but I thought the character and desire that he showed to press forward in the second half, I was very, very impressed with Yilmaz. And we spoke about Rangers will get at least one chance, and they did, and it was an absolute sitter from Morelos, and that would have made it 2-1, and it would have been a different game in the last 20 minutes. But what a sitter Morelos missed.
Barry, that really was, what an opportunity.
Yeah, he's got to score. Look, I'm not going to cover up. It's got to be a goal. It's clearly rushed, no sharp enough. Also thought, in the first half when he was through, He had a chance to get his shot off a bit quicker. Again, it comes down to lack of match sharpness, but certainly the chance he had in the second half, for me, it's got to be a goal. And then you put them under a wee bit of pressure. Then you ask questions in Napoli, what they like, is their fans going to get in their back? But for me, that should have been the back of the net.
Let's speak to some of our friends here. Ross was on earlier before the game. Ross, what's your feeling overall? 3-0 at the end, Napoli.
Yeah, I think you can't really argue with the scoreline. I thought Napoli were by far the better team, and after that first 15 minutes you really feared for Rangers. Like, it could have been anything, but I thought maybe last 20-25 minutes of the first half, and certainly first 15-20 minutes of the second half, I thought Rangers really did themselves proud. I mean, the lack of quality really showed in the end with Morelos missing the chances and just some kind of passes. You know, against these quality teams you need the quick 1-2s to come off and to get around them and in behind them, and they didn't. But I felt like in that period that Rangers kind of had the ball, Napoli didn't really trouble them. Obviously with such a quality team they're going to have chances regardless, and but I thought they did okay.
Do you feel Napoli took the foot off the gas in the second half?
Yeah, and even the end of the first half, I thought once they went 2-0 up, Napoli, I think after Ndombele hit the crossbar in the first half, Napoli kind of went, we've got this wrap, like Rangers aren't scoring against us.
Because it was wave after wave of attack, wasn't
it?
And from the Italians.
I think the only thing you can maybe say from Rangers is that the two goals they're really poor goals to concede. I think the first goal, that's the only place you can put it, and McGregor stands rooted to the spot. The second goal, King kind of chasing his man and loses him without world class. Like, he doesn't make a move and peel off him. He just kind of runs straight towards the goal, and it's a great cross, but it's not. I think like the one that Ndombele hits the bar, it's great movement and a run for the right winger, lays it off, and it's a great strike. If that goes in, you hold your hands up and you say, what a goal.
Barry, what would you say to Ross about this?
I think the 3 goals you've got to be disappointed with. Losing your men, the first 2 goals, runners into the box, you've got to follow certainly the first one. The second one, for me, it's got to have that desire to get in front of the forward with Ben Davies. He's got to know that the guys in the left hand side going to cross the ball. You've got to bust a gut to make sure that he's not going to get that header. And then the third goal, again, it's a free header in the box. Lundstrom's pushed off the ball far too easy. 3 goals that I think Rangers and Gio will be disappointed with.
Do you think, Mark, they worked hard enough in the first half? Rangers, many of our friends here at the Radisson Red with Steen were saying, I don't think they're committed the way they would expect.
Well, I don't like to say that, because only the players know for sure, and there's a difference between what you can say. They were totally outclassed. Napoli are a different level. It can look as though you're not trying, but just finally mentally you thought, oh my God, we're only 15 minutes in here, we are getting absolutely battered, and it makes you feel tired and look as though. But what they didn't do, and there's no excuse for, they didn't stay collective, they didn't keep a shape. And there's no excuse for that. But I wouldn't like to say they weren't trying, because if they weren't trying
hard enough,
they wouldn't have come out that way in the second half, because they did do well, and credit to them.
Sakala did well for
that.
Sakala
came
right.
on certainly for right. As I say, I did like the look of Yilmaz. Young Leon King's got another 90 minutes under his belt.
Took a knock.
Kent, 1 or 2 wee flashes. He's low in confidence, but 1 or 2 wee flashes. He looked okay, but no good enough. So there's not a lot of positives, but I have to say, if I try to find a way to compliment Rangers, I would compliment them in their second half performance. But that said, it was too late. But I do think the way they started the game, the way they set up, they left themselves wide open for a defeat.
Ross, what would you say to Mark? I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah, just a bit, Ken. I think I get like he's up against Di Lorenzo, who's one of the best right backs in Europe, Napoli captain. But I think Kent is your outstanding player at Rangers. He's got to do more. Like he's 1v1, not even against Di Lorenzo at some points, against the right winger, against maybe a centre mid. He just doesn't go past enough people for me.
What's going to happen next week then? One more game, no points for Rangers. What about next Tuesday?
need to go for it, like a bit of pride. I mean, we need to win. What is it, 5-0?
Yeah,
to have a chance.
It's only 5.
I know everybody's laughing here, but there's no point in going out and just saying, "Oh, we'll put up a fight against Ajax." You need to go out. Your Rangers, your goal has to be 5-0. I mean, as unrealistic as it might be, and it definitely won't happen. But you need to go out as a Rangers team and say, get a couple of early goals and make Ajax sweat a wee bit.
Thank you, Ross, the doctor in the house joining us. Remember that, Barry? He could be your doctor in a year or two. Thank you.
I think I'll need him soon.
You'll need a drink tonight. What do you do when you go home later on?
I'm just looking at everybody here with their nice beers and whatever. I'm jealous.
We can get the driver in for sure. Be happy to. Yep.
Can I just go on about Kent? There was a one in the second half. I don't know if you remember it. I don't know if the fans will remember it, where he gets into the box and he's got a chance to just shoot, where he then turns back to go into the crowd and the rookie players. Sometimes when you just get that half a yard, just let it fly. You never know. You might not hit the target. It might deflect off a player into the way of another Rangers player. It might deflect into the goal. Sometimes you've got to take the opportunities, because a lot of opportunities don't come up when you're playing against quality teams. But I thought Rangers certainly had one in the first half when Morel lost through, and the one in the second half he's got to score. And Kent, a couple of occasions when he gets into that box, just let fly at goal at times.
This is Go Radio. It's the football show. We're here at the Radisson Red with Steen, the podcast, and the time, it's just gone 10 o'clock. I wonder if Radio Amsterdam will be having a similar phone-in and podcast just now with Stein over there in the Radisson.
I can imagine what's going on over in Amsterdam.
Because you know where this is leading. You know, they were pumped tonight as well, weren't they, by Liverpool? So
that's not bad.
We'll see we're off air.
Oh no, we're on. We're in the podcast. Sorry. Well, they were lost. So
you need to cut that. That's what we'll say.
No.
Keep that in.
So, does that give you hope for next week? Surely, as Rangers fans here, I mean, how many think Rangers are going to win next week at Ibrox against Ajax? There's one. Give me 2, 3,
I'm going
4, 5.
You're at home.
6.
It's your last game. You've got to, I keep using the word a bit of pride. You've got to bust a gut next week. They've got to get something on the board. You don't want to be one of the teams where you go through the Champions League group stage with nothing. So that's their driving force next week, to make sure they get something on the board, and it's got to be 3 points, because Ajax are going through. You've seen some of the results they've had. They're getting battered.
Their manager's under P, I think.
Sure.
Barry,
albeit they're getting battered with quality teams. But listen, Rangers are at Ibrox, 52,000 fans behind them. Take the game to Ajax, and if they do that and they're aggressive, they're on the front foot, then they've got a real chance of getting 3 points.
So that's 7. How many more to go? There's about 50,000 in here at the Radisson Red with Steen. No, I think people were really realistic beforehand. This was going to be arguably the toughest game so far. Gordon Reid, MBE, joins us. Gordon, thanks for staying with us. What's your overall feeling about tonight? Was a chance missed, maybe?
Disappointed, really. I was not expecting, but I was hoping for a little bit more. And as you say, as soon as you go 2 down so early on, it's the writing's on the wall from that point, really. And if we had competed at the start of the match like we had at the start of the second half, it might have been a different story. But yeah, I think it's kind of just feels a bit like more of the same of what we've been seeing recently.
Any success stories for you then?
I thought Yilmaz did pretty well. I agree with you that Mark, at the start, he was leaving a lot of space over on that left-hand side, and he looked vulnerable defensively, but I mean, he's definitely got an engine on him, and he's full of energy, and he was making those bursting runs right into the end of the game. So I think that's probably one positive, but outside of that, it's slim pickings, I think.
What one thing that tells me about Yilmaz is tough first 25 minutes, but listen, the boys get a bit of bottle and a bit of character, because it was hard. I was looking at the first 25, think this is going to be a long 90 minutes, but at least they showed he's got something about him, and he gets stronger as the game went on, no doubt in my mind. And Gordon's right, one thing about him is he's got an engine up and down, good energy about him, so hopefully this game will do him the world of good.
Ashley, tell us, would you, what Tav is saying? He's being interviewed at the moment. You're over in the next to the telly. James Tavernier being interviewed at full time, and that must be difficult after a game like that when it's been a campaign like this. But Mark, you've done these interviews before for James Tavernier. For next week, he's got to do it this weekend. Huge game.
Yeah, I think the difference tonight for me compared to the second half a couple of weeks ago against Liverpool, compared to the opening game in Amsterdam, I know Rangers have lost 3-0 and that's the bottom line, but I think they have come out with a bit of pride. They have to be honest. They had a great chance, and you can't blame the manager for Morelos missing a sitter to get them back into the game. Yeah, you can look at the manager for the way they've set up, and to go 2 goals down so quickly. But I think there's a positive about tonight, about the second half, the way they kept going, about their character. Yeah, they've lacked a bit of quality, but they never gave up. They kept going, and if they can take that into Saturday, and it sets them up to go and try and win the game. But Saturday's key, Paul. Saturday's key. They've got to do better than what they did last week at home in Livingston. And if you can get a victory, entertain and play well, get the fans up off their seats, get a bit of unity. There's a bit of disconnect just now between the home fans and the team. Get a bit of unity, and that's up to the players and the manager to go and give that back to the supporters. Then it sets you up for what should be a victory on Tuesday night against Ajax.
A defeat, Barry, is unthinkable, isn't it? For Gio, Rangers have to win on Saturday.
Yeah, they've got to win. It's a must, no doubt about it.
And do you think they will?
They have to.
Yeah. How much would that take out of the team?
It'll take a bit, because obviously you're playing against a good team. They give you the runabout in the first half, but listen, the way they're looked after. But look, you go out to do that warm up at 2:20 at Ibrox, the crowd will be buzzing. You're playing against Aberdeen, so you've got to be up for it, Paul, and you can't go any further behind Celtic. As I said, you've got to have the mindset that Celtic are going to win the last 4 games leading up to the World Cup break. So Rangers need to do the same. And
Gordon, the team thrived on 3 games a week last season, didn't they? I don't think it affected them at all when they were playing at the top level. The semi-finals, then the final, well, certainly the quarters, the semis. They seemed to thrive on those 3 games. Did you feel that was the case last season?
Absolutely, yeah. And we looked like one of the fittest teams going. I think it was at Aribo that played the most games in professional football in the world last year, something like that. So, I think that was one thing that you couldn't question with Rangers last year was the fitness. But I think when a team's confident and playing well, you get that extra energy and extra boost, and obviously that's missing at the moment. But obviously we've been talking a lot about Rangers tonight, but I think you've got to say Napoli. We talked about it before the match, but unbelievable team. That intensity and the sharpness and the quickness and the way they moved the ball and the accuracy of the passing in that first sort of 20-25 minutes, half an hour was really, really impressive. And I think we've been saying maybe Napoli took their foot off the gas a little bit, but I also think that it's impossible for them to keep that up for the full 90 minutes, because that takes a lot out of you, the way they were playing at the start of the match.
Simeone a bit special, you see why he's an international Argentinian striker. Phenomenal players, Barry, aren't they?
Yeah,
Napoli.
they're a joy to watch, what Gordon just mentioned there. The pace they play at, 1-2 touch, the movement, the physicality, technically a top team, and that's them missing a few of the regular players that they'd left out. So, as I said, they're the best team I've seen.
So
this season
they could win it.
I think they've got every chance, and that's what you've got to remember. You're coming up against a top quality outfit with top quality players.
Gordon Reid, thanks so much for joining us. Can't say did you enjoy the evening, but it's some great company here with the team from Steen here at the Radisson Red, and good luck with the fitness. We'll see you back hopefully when? January?
Hopefully, yeah, January's the plan. So, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
We'll see you at Kilt Walk next year as well. He's a Kilt Walk.
Cheers, Gordon.
Ambassador. Thank you so much. Great.
Cheers.
Gordon Reid, MBE, joining us here on a night when Rangers lost 3-0. They were 2 down in 16 minutes, a double from Simeone. Morelos came so close. It wasn't to be, just missed out. And then a third goal late in the game. And what header that was, Mark, from Ostergaard, Leo Ostergaard.
Power
generated.
Yeah, he did, because it's coming in behind him. He's peeled off Lundstrom to get the header, and it's wide, and it's into the goal, and that really that finished it off. It made it more an enjoyable night for Napoli. But they are quality. You know, you look at them, the way they kept possession in tight spaces, particularly around their own box. Lovely wee triangles, just get out. Were never flustered, even though Rangers pressed them, particularly in that second half. But they are a right good team. I mean, they're going to be there or thereabouts, I'd imagine, Barry.
Yeah, I like them. But see, talking about the third goal, it's a poor goal to lose if you watch it. See, if you watch it back again, it's I know it's behind the guy, but he's got a free header.
Lundstrom.
And you can't allow players free headers. You've got to at least make them work and connect with them. Make sure that they have to work to win the header. And it's a free header, to be fair. The boy's done brilliant, no doubt about it, but that'll be a goal Rangers will be disappointed with.
James Tavernier, I mentioned a few moments ago, Ashley was listening out, and James Tavernier said we've got to take some positives, especially compared to the rest of the games, the other games we've played so far. We've got to pick ourselves up. It's a defeat, but there are positives to take from it. Ali's with us here. Ali, do you agree with your captain?
I'm actually getting a bit tired of hearing James Tavernier's excuses as the game's gone. I actually go back to what Mark said earlier on in the show, where when things are going well for James Tavernier, he's right out, but I think when the chips are down, he's not there as a captain for Rangers. I really don't think so.
But he's fronted up tonight. At least he's come out tonight.
I mean, that's by the by. I mean, that's
you mean
expected.
on the pitch?
But I mean on the pitch.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen really good Rangers captains. One of them sitting beside me, and I don't think I think he hides when they go and get stuff.
Barry, what would you say to Ali?
Yeah, I just think there's a mixture of frustration. We're all frustrated the way that some of the results have gone. Listen, everybody's got their own opinion, Paul. You've got to respect it. Look, he's not playing at the levels that we expect him to play. But it's okay saying it on camera. You need to do it on the pitch, and that needs to start on Saturday at 3 o'clock.
I think that's what I'm sort of leaning towards his platitudes, where he needs to be shown it on the park, and that's where it really matters. And it's okay doing it on a TV interview, but you've got to show it on the pitch.
What else did you feel tonight? You must have been after 16 minutes, and then moments later in Ndombele hits the bar. Were you thinking this is going to go 5, 6?
I thought we were going to get a repeat Liverpool game, to be honest. And thankfully, in my opinion, Napoli really, really took the foot off the gas. I mean, positive wise, Yilmaz, that's about it.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago we hadn't really seen him, and people wondered, is he going to be worth it?
Compared to Barisic, I think he's really positive. He really affects things going forward, and defensively actually eventually stops people crossing the ball, because that's where Barisic really lets himself down. But really, really positive going forward, and I think the way we're going this is we need a bit more positivity rather than what people were saying earlier about Barisic's been quite negative.
I heard them saying on the telly that the manager looked haunted around about half time, because probably at that point it looked as though it could be an avalanche of goals. By the end of it, for Giovanni then 3-0 at the end, but do you feel he's got something to build on? Ajax next week,
I think
Aberdeen at the
he'll
weekend.
haunted after Livingston. I don't know where it goes for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst now. A great football player, but as a Rangers manager, I just don't think it's happening for him at the moment.
So you don't think it's going to turn round?
No,
he's not going to turn it round.
It's got the look of something ending towards the end game. I think that's just we're on that road.
Okay. Ali, you joined us a few weeks ago, I remember, and thanks for joining us tonight as well. Thank you for your points there to Barry and to Mark as well. We're going to speak to a few more while we're still here on the podcast. Thank you very much, Ali. Mark, it's quite hard to hear. Do you think he looked a bit better by the end of it? I mean, I know 3-0's not great.
Giovanni, the manager, well, he certainly looked better than what he did on Saturday. I'm going not only the way he looked, Paul, but his words.
Yeah.
The way he answered the questions put to him in a difficult situation, obviously, by not being able to beat Livingston and getting a last-minute equaliser. But I wasn't encouraged by Giovanni's interview on Saturday afternoon. To me, it was the words of a man who felt he was beaten, who felt he was getting towards the end of the road as a manager. But he can still recover. As long as he wins his 4 league games, he'll stay as Rangers manager. Even if Ajax win at Ibrox on Tuesday night, as long as he wins his 4 league games, and he deserves to stay as Rangers manager if that's the case, Paul, because there's still 3 Old Firm games to come. There's 9 points against Celtic. Now, if they are to lose to Celtic on January 2nd, it becomes a different story with the rest of the transfer window to go, etc, etc. But as long as he wins his 4 games, he deserves to stay in charge. If he drops any points out of the 12, he might struggle to keep his job.
We've been well looked after here in our podcast just after the game. It's now 10:15. We're with Steen at the Radisson Red. They really have looked after us, Billy, tonight, haven't they? Because these are tough evenings, but I see quite a few smiles tonight. Were you relieved it was 3?
I don't think as a Rangers fan you're ever going to say you're relieved it's 3. The sad thing is, for me, all my time of supporting Rangers, I go into every game expecting Rangers to get a result. See, tonight it was probably the first time in my memory that I actually thought we didn't stand much of a chance, and that's maybe a sad reflection of where the team is at the moment. But on the other side of that, the Champions League might have been a distraction that's taking their eye away from the domestic scene. So I think get back on track on Saturday. I says to Gordon, they actually need a good performance as well as a good result on Saturday. I think scraping a 1-0 won't do them any favours, but on the flip side of that, if you can just get yourself to the World Cup, win your 4 games, still be within touching distance of Celtic, I don't think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is going anywhere, because for a start he's got a 3-year contract, and who else are they going to bring in? It's the same squad of players, so that squad needs recycled, that squad needs cleared out. But at the moment, that's what he's got to play with, and that's what he's just going to have to get up to the World Cup, and then it effectively gives him another pre-season, and then they can come back in December. I think they go away to Hibs in one of the first games.
Yeah, Thursday night, 15th of December.
So, I mean, that's going to be a big test. That'll be a telling point how they're going to go into this winter sort of period, because, well, let's be honest, 75% of that team's fell apart after winter, the last 4 out of the 5 seasons. So it really is a difficult moment, but it's up to the manager to motivate the players to try and turn this round.
Barry, what would you say to the good points that Billy's making?
Yeah, normally you would say, if you ask me the question, it's just all about getting the 3 points, but I do agree there needs to be a good performance, free-flowing football, in people's faces, attack-minded, getting balls into the box, shots on goal. That's what needs to happen on Saturday. Look, the most important thing is getting the 3 points, but I agree with Billy, there needs to be now a performance level. It needs to step up a wee bit, because it's no been at that level. I go back to Fir Park, poor performance, 3 points, right, you take it. Dundee, you're in the semi-final, I get it, that's the most important thing, performance no great. Then Livingston on Saturday. Tonight, different story, because you're coming out against a top quality team, but I need to see a rampant Rangers on Saturday.
That's a word, that's a great word, rampant.
I know, I was thinking about that for about 10 minutes.
That's 2 words, Mark, rampant Rangers.
No, but it's true,
Just
that's so
thinking
true.
about Amsterdam.
Yeah. Even when I'm talking about performance, I don't just mean free-flowing football. I mean, Aberdeen's probably your biggest domestic game outside the Old Firm. That's the biggest rivalry outside the Old Firm. So I mean, fight, a bit of dedication, a bit of heart. That's what I mean.
See what Billy's saying, I'll be honest with you, when the fixtures used to come out, the first one you look for is Celtic. A wee home first, a wee at Celtic Park, and then the next one for me was Aberdeen.
Yep.
That was it.
It's the biggest rivalry.
That's the ones that,
sure.
There's, you know, it goes back, way back, 30 odd years. But that was one game I used to love, whether it was at Pittodrie, whether it was coming to Ibrox. I was always up for every game, but that game, I was ready for it, and that's what this group of players need to be on Saturday.
Billy, you're right. I've never been among as many Rangers fans who didn't want to give a prediction, because, you know, they just couldn't say Rangers would win tonight. You didn't really think it. I know your son's going to be a doctor, but it was like pulling teeth, getting out of people tonight.
That's a dentist, Paul, to be fair, not
I know,
a doctor,
to the dentist, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
But to be fair, I mean, I think the way the game went in the first 15 minutes was probably how we expected it to go.
Yep.
That's what I said before. They need to get through the first 15-20 minutes and settle into the game.
Yep.
That first 15-20 minutes, they didn't even look, again, they looked a bit fearful.
Did you not think, Billy, they were too wide open? I was saying to Matt, I just thought there was far too... The distances between the two centre midfielders, the centre backs, sometimes you've got to go out, and it might not look great when you're watching it, but see, when you're compact, let them go wide, get balls into the box, but we were too wide open.
And they did it later. Why not at the beginning?
I don't know. Listen, that's a question I'm sure they'll ask Gio. I honestly thought that would have been the best way to go, because I've been in these situations going away to places where you're coming up against top teams, where you've got to respect who you're up against. And the longer the game goes on, at nothing each, or even 1-0 down, you've still got an opportunity to win the game. But when it goes 2 and 3, then you struggle.
I think he tried to do that by putting Sands and Lundstram in there, but I don't think it worked. I don't think Sands playing in that role worked tonight, and Lundstram's really struggling for form at the moment as well. But the first 15 minutes, it was as if they looked fearfully what was going to happen. See, once they started moving forward through the pitch and get a couple of chances, they grew into the game a wee bit and started getting a wee bit of belief. But I says to Barry earlier on, Napoli looked as if they were playing in first gear sometimes, and we actually say if Rangers score, it might actually annoy them a wee bit to move up through the gears.
What's your scoreline on Saturday? Aberdeen.
I genuinely, I fancy 3-1, but I'm saying that more from my heart. But if Rangers turn up, they should beat anybody in Scotland, and I would even put Celtic in that bracket as well. I don't think they've turned up against Celtic in the previous game, but if Rangers turn up, they should turn over MD. And I think the first half's going to be pivotal, because if it's another Livingston where it's slow, lethargic, and they let Aberdeen sort of be compact and grow into the game, they'll face a wee bit of trouble. But fingers crossed to get the result on Saturday.
Billy, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
And for being with us from Steen here at the Radisson Red. So it's 3-0 for Napoli, a double from Simeone and then a header from Østegård, the Norwegian international. And Saturday, Rangers against Aberdeen. Celtic on Sunday are at Livingston, and then next week, Tuesday.
You just mentioned that Rangers need to win, right? You never know what could happen Sunday. Celtic going to Livingston, I know what it's like there. Previous, I know they won the last game, but previous they've not a great record there, so you never know what could happen in football. It could turn out a brilliant weekend where Livingston could get a result. Rangers need to focus, put a wee bit of pressure on Celtic again, get the result against Aberdeen. Because to be fair to David Martindale and his Livingston team, they're well set up, they're well drilled, and I think they'll do the same. They'll try and frustrate Celtic, so you never know what could happen. Ashley's
still with us, although the jacket's on now. From earlier, you said 1-1. How are you feeling, Ashley, about that performance tonight?
Scunnered. Well, I mean, I know it's the Champions League, and I just feel like, does anybody think about us fans, right? I shell out over £700 for a season ticket. I've paid £180 for that, that 3 match package. Yeah. And all you want to see from your team, because we know we're not quite at that level, but all you want to see is heart and desire and fight. Did we see that tonight? I don't know, because sometimes I feel like I need to sit on a loss for a bit to really process it. We're such a reactive fan base. So I don't know. Right now I just feel a bit scunnered with it all.
Yeah, you
put it really well.
Yeah, Mark, look, sit here and covers the games as part of the media. I'm not shelling out the best part of a grand to go and watch it. So yeah, you're absolutely right to be scunnered. You're absolutely right to ask for more and expect more from your player. And you're not expecting to go there and win. You get that, but you want to see more. You want to see better than that opening game in Amsterdam. You want to see better than the second half at Ibrox at home to Liverpool. And desire and fight, commitment, do something. There's a way to lose, as we said tonight before the game. You can lose a game and supporters will accept that, but there's a way to lose. And some of the ways that Rangers have lost this season has been totally unacceptable. Domestically, some of the games, Saturday being an example, and a couple of games in Europe. But there's a chance to pick it up. And Saturday, go along, support your team, and get things going again on Saturday domestically, and then try and kick it on into Tuesday night. But it's a massive, everybody knows, it's a massive 2-week period. The next 2 weekends are absolutely huge. You're going Saturday midweek Saturday, finish the last game in Paisley away to St Mirren, and they need to get 12 points and they need to play well.
Before we finish, here's what Giovanni has just said on BT Sport. He said, I think we have goals away from home too. I'll give that again. I think we're giving goals away too easily, but in the second half we showed character, didn't give away any big chances. In the end, you can see the third goal from the set piece. You have to step your level up. I think we gave them a good game. Giovanni said we take the positives and have to be ready for the weekend. We need to recover very well and be sure we're ready to face Aberdeen. I think they should play them what you said a few moments ago here on the show. The passion, because the fans are paying a lot of money to follow the team, and the players who are well looked after. And I take your point. I mean, they worked hard, but are they giving enough for the fans?
And the thing is, right, I think they take it for granted. They know that I and 52,000 other people are still going to turn up on Saturday, and we're still going to sing our hearts out, and we're still going to support the team, because you always go into every game with hope, but they can't keep taking that for granted. Like I said, we just want to see that desire and that fight on the pitch. I don't know if we're seeing that right now.
Barry, what would you say to Ashley and to everyone else finally here tonight?
No, I used to say it to the boys. That was part of our chat when back in the time when I played the two different teams under Dick and then Alec and then Walter Smith. We understand you've got to appreciate what the fans pay out, and they demand and expect performances. And do you know what? I see tomorrow when you're going in to do your listen, I'd be saying to them, listen, do you know what? Don't look back now, we need to look forward. This is a massive couple of weeks. We've got 5 games and we need to try and get maximum points domestically and get a bit of self-pride back in the Champions League, and make sure you get something on the board.
Love it. Ashley, thanks very much for joining us, and let's meet one more of our team here at the Radisson Red with Steen. Just moments after, well, it's now actually, 25, nearly, that's half an hour since the game ended. It's hard to believe. 3-0 to Napoli, but Ajax will be coming to town next week. Dino is joining us, who played in a world final, the cerebral palsy world final just recently. We heard from you earlier. Dino, what do you think? You're a passionate Rangers fan. What would you say?
I would say the past, since maybe the Hearts game, it's been difficult being a Rangers supporter. Like your midweek against Dundee, and it's late, real kick-off times 8:15 and stuff like that. And personally, I support my team will be there, but the past couple of games I'm like, actually, I don't get excited going to the games and watch them anymore, because they're not performing on the park. And I would like to think going into Saturday, Aberdeen, it's a big game. Let's go and put a performance in and maybe get a 3-4-0 win. Then you look towards Tuesday night Ajax, and then building it, as you said, up to the World Cup break. Then we go again, just keep going and keep touching distance with Celtic to New Year. You can see what happens there. Yeah.
Mark Guidi, what would you say to Dino?
Yeah, I think Dino's right, and you know, I think Barry summed it up great there. What the mentality needs to be from the manager to the dressing room in the next 2 weeks. As it is, we've only got 15 days or something left. The mentality has to be, it's a 5-game season. 4 league games and a Champions League game. And by the way, it should not be beyond Rangers to go and win the 5. You win the 5, you're on a right high, get into the winter break, and everybody can regroup, recharge, and come again ready for the challenge that starts after that on December 15th at home to Hibs. But don't let the previous few games affect you. Wipe the slate clean, be on it, and win your next 5 games.
Yeah, that would be the mindset. That's where I would hope I'll be getting spoke about, because they'll come in tomorrow, they'll need to do a recovery and go through, obviously, all the shape and the formation and what they're going to do in Saturday. So that would be the chat for me inside the dressing room. Right, do you know what? That's in the past now. Was it good enough? No, it wasn't. But we look forward, and it starts on Saturday. And they've got to have Ibrox absolute rocking. And how you get that is, see, when the whistle starts, you go, you fly into tackles, you make something happen, get the crowd behind you, and then do you know what that does? That gets you up as well. So I'm looking forward to the game against Aberdeen.
So Liverpool 3-0 against Ajax tonight. Rangers just need 5. I mean, it's almost impossible, but Rangers want to get the points. And Dino, thank you for joining us tonight.
Cheers, Dino.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Listen, thanks to everyone, our friends at Steen, our friends here at the Radisson Red. It's been brilliant. I hope Barry sends the download podcast to some of the Rangers players to hear the passion of the fans here who follow their team home and away and want to do well next Tuesday, but probably more importantly on Saturday. Thanks to everyone who joined us, including Gordon Reid, MBE, and earlier on we heard from Paul Lambert as well. Thank you, Billy. Thanks to everybody, each and every one of you. We appreciate it, and we'll be back here, well, next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Rangers on Tuesday night, Celtic on Wednesday night. The podcasts will be there. Thanks so much. We're back on the Go Radio Football Show tomorrow at 5 with Big Oz himself, Craig Moore, and also tomorrow evening, who else have we got?
Andy Walker.
It's Andy Walker. Thank you so much. Good night. Take care.
Cheers, Paul.
Euro Nights from the Go Radio Football Show with Steen. Pay less energy bills with the zero carbon options for your home or business.
As one of Scotland's leading mechanical and electrical contractors, Steen delivers a wide range of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, heating and renewable solutions for your home or business. Our specialist team provides our clients with the highest quality service and installations, giving them peace of mind and confidence to return in the future. So, for all your mechanical and electrical projects, regardless of size or complexity, make Steen your partner of choice. For more information,